Hello and welcome to the Nash Tackle Off the Hook podcast. Just to make you aware, this podcast may contain some explicit/offensive language, and if that's not your thing, you don't have to listen, but I have given you a warning. I hope you enjoy the rest of the show.
You don't know the half of it, but anyway. I'm skating on the thinnest ice known to man.
He said, and they put a poison in the tank that just instantly kills them. He went and we've run out of it, so we cut their heads off with shovels.
Suddenly, bang! The whole boat exploded.
Take your sort of 8-inch long piranha and imagine that at 4, 5, maybe 6 feet.
I said, I've revived your dead fish. F off, he said. You haven't.
That was just humongous. It was... I couldn't believe what I was looking at.
I'm just battling this fish out in the pond. I know it's a black min. I'm saying I'll never be a naughty boy again.
If you catch fish and you return them to the water, then you are my brother.
Jerry Hammond, welcome to the Nash Tackle podcast, mate. How the devil are you?
I'm fine, thank you, and happy June the 16th, first day of the season.
Perfect day to be out. Sun shining, rivers are open.
Yeah.
Life is all good, mate. How have you been recently? Good?
Yeah, fantastic, mate. Up early this morning. I was going to fish, actually, on the river last night. I haven't done June the 16th for so long, and I just thought, and our weir pool looks so nice, and I've been, watching a few nice carp in there. I probably see about 6 the other day turn up on the sill, trying to come up on the sill, 30 pounders, a couple of them.
You're joking.
And it just gets you going. I feel, I really want to have a go at this. I've not done the old midnight 12 o'clock start for so long, I can't even remember when. And it's on my doorstep, and I thought, I've got to do it. And I planned to do it. You know why I never? Because I'm here.
Yeah, I've
Friday morning.
your plans, mate.
So
Sorry.
I thought, mate, it's the first June the 16th I was going to do, and that's gone out the window. But no, mate, I walked round last night. I don't know what time, about 10:30, thinking, they'll all have their rods out, because there's a few on the river last night.
Yeah.
The old lanterns going, and it just takes you back, doesn't it, to when you're younger. And all got their rods in, all their rods ready. I see one guy's got all these little bags ready, tied up, ready to put in. And I went, all right, guys, going to sit it out. And I went, oh, blimey, yeah, 12 o'clock and all that. Proper traditionalist, And I got up this morning and went to my little gym. And on the upper weir, as I looked up there, I see one guy playing a carp. So,
wicked.
And it was beautiful. The sun was coming up. I thought, I bet he's happy,
You've got some place, mate. We're going to talk about it later.
Yeah, mate.
But your house, that setup, the river there, that weir pool's got something. I mean, when I went, you were in India at the time, but when I went round, the chub in there were ridiculous.
They're still there.
How big are they? They were massive.
I know. You know what, because they're literally outside my kitchen window, I can literally feed them from my back door, and they're in an area where no one can fish for them because there's a big willow, beautiful willow, and it's sort of hung off the side of my house. And I come back from India on holiday one year, and it had actually collapsed into I was gutted. I thought, if that willow ever goes, I'm moving, but. Fortunately, it's carried on growing. It's rerouted and it's still beautiful. And half to pollard, I've done that last November. Absolutely killed me, but I've done it in my waders.
Yeah,
mate, massive job.
I bet.
And it's all growing back beautifully now because it grows so quick. And I was worried that the chub may stay away because it ain't as elaborate as it was before, weeping over yet, not yet. And I was feeding them yesterday, a bit of bait left over from the last session, just chucking handfuls in, and they are big chub. Very big chub, 6, 7s, 8s. I mean, my best chub out there was 8.13, back when the record was around about that. And it was a summer caught chub. My mate was there, and he went, he's never seen, he's kind of an all-species angler. And he said, I've never seen a chub that big in August time,
No.
And I was a bit willy-nilly with it, really, because I've never really fished for them seriously. And I sort of weighed it in a carrier bag, and it was rocking on £9, and the record was 8.12 or 8.13 at the time. And I went, just call it 8.12 or 8.13, whatever. It was grams underneath the British record, but it could have been the British record.
It probably was, mate.
Could have been.
You're not bothered, do you? It's just beautiful to have them. What a place to live.
Well, Alan come past. It's a funny story. He come past my house one day on a lock. On the lock in a hire boat. I think it was his birthday or something. And he managed, I think he'll tell you, but I think they hired a boat or something, and they come through the lock, and Alan had prearranged with me. He said, when we come through the lock, can I just moor up and come and have a quick go for the chub?
Yeah.
On his birthday when caught an 8-pounder.
Oh my!
Mate, you could ask him.
When I saw them, I was like, "They're grass carp, mate, not chub." It was ridiculous.
They are big.
They're big.
I mean, that weir pool. we had some really big perch in there a few years back, and we used to get quite a few of the top specie boys wanting to come over and have a go. And there was a particular swim that a couple of my mates practically used to fight over it. And it's like got a clear strip going through the pads, because in the there's a shelf comes up from deep water, and all that top bit's all quite shallow with pads.
Right.
And there's a nice channel in between where I was actually going to fish last night for the carp. And they used to kind of fight over it, and in the end they'd just squeeze into the same swim. And I remember speaking to them one day, Stuart Court and Daryl Gorder from Fortis.
Yeah.
Darren.
And, I know Darren, yeah.
And they used to fish it quite regularly. And I went round there one day, and they were fishing maggot feeder and worms, I think. And I'm not sure, I think Stuart had one of them had a 7+ chub, and the other one had a big 4 perch. Like, you know, one
That's
each.
unreal,
Like,
mate.
two good fish to catch out of a weir pool. But then perch kind of not been seen. You know, they don't seem to be around for a long while. When they get that big, they tend to sort of disappear or die, and then others come through. So it's about time, really, that some big perch were caught again out of there.
As if you've not got a mega house, you've got the weir pool, and you've also got the lakes, mate. You've got the Carthagena, mate.
Very fortunate, mate. Very fortunate and very much appreciated, you know. Every day I get up, I look out my bathroom window, which looks over the weir pool and across to the lakes, and I just think another lovely day. And then I just realise how fortunate I am to be able to look out that window and see such good sights every day, you know.
Living the dream, mate. And it was nice, to be fair, to walk round this site with you, because you said you ain't been back here for like 10 years
I think,
or so.
Yeah, 10, must be getting on for maybe 11 years. And it does look amazing out there. What Kev's done with that out the back there is just a little paradise. It is, absolutely stunning.
If we'd have smuggled you a bag of floaters, we could have nicked £40 off the top of the
that'd be nice, wouldn't it? just one more out of the church lake would be nice.
You've had enough, mate. We'll talk about that in due course. Recently, fishing, mate, you've been doing a bit or not?
I'm always fishing, yeah. I've just got, basically, I don't know what you want to cover, but like going back a bit, I've been on sort of 2 or 3 grueling lakes, and we're always looking for that lake that's like the dream lake, you know, where there's not hardly any members, and a nice big lake with beautiful features and islands. And I'm on a lake at the moment. It's about 90 odd acres, southern gravel pit, and it is kind of like the lake you've always been looking for. It's only about a dozen of us that fish it. I can actually leave my gear set up on an island, and there's about 30 odd acres of water that just me and 2 other guys are fishing. And because we're in that part of the lake, we can leave our gear there. So like I say, I'm on an island, got it all to myself. It's absolutely, I mean, I got like a little blue tit box hanging up. I had all the blue tits nesting during the spring. The wildlife's amazing. And the lake is absolutely like just beautiful. You know, it's you know, you don't really get anywhere nowadays where you can go and you're the only person on there.
No.
Sometimes just me and my mate Jim fishing, well, most of the times. And then you might have 1 or 2, maybe one right up the other end. And the thing is, where we're fishing, we can leave our gear. Up the other end, you can't. But I'm sort of too deep into the swim now to up sticks and move somewhere. And all year I've been waiting for the westerly winds, and we just haven't had any, have we, this year?
Northeast for like 5,
and it's
weeks.
all like blowing up the opposite end of the lake, and what's a little bit, it's not a heavily stocked water by any means, and we still don't know all what's in there apart from what we've seen. There may be one very, very special big carp in there, maybe even potential record fish. We just don't know. But like, my mate's seen it, and he's got a good eye for a fish, and he's had carp to 60 plus, and he knows what he's looking at, and I don't doubt his judgment, and he's seen an absolute beast in there. I haven't seen it yet, but when I do, I'm sure I'll be on the same buzz as him, like, you know. So yeah, it's very low stocked. We haven't had the westerly winds, and it's a little bit demoralising when you turn up, go out and scope your spots, and there's still bait there from the previous week. There's not a lot of fish in there. We're not getting the winds. The fish ain't coming down, like, you know. But I'm ever hopeful because next week the Wesleys are coming. Well, we've got a few days of Wesleys. So every time there's a Wesley down there, I see fish. And we just haven't really had the Wesleys. And the time when we did have a little while ago, I caught one. A really nice, absolute amazing.
That's an incredible carp.
Yeah, mate. You know, that fish on its own makes the whole year worthwhile. I've only caught 1 carp this year. I've been fishing a lake where that's what happens when you fish them sort of waters, and that's the way my fishing's been for the last sort of maybe getting on for 10 years now, just giving myself ridiculous challenges all the time. But that's the kick. That's what I get out of it, like, you know.
But you've done a lot, haven't you, mate? When you look back, I mean, you've done a lot of angling over a period of a fair few old decades, mate.
Yeah,
Even
mate.
though you look 25, you're in real good nick, as I always say to you, mate.
That's no stress, mate.
Yeah. Well, you're living the dream. But you I think throughout the course of time, you've got to search, you find sort of what's yours, don't you, to keep that buzz. Otherwise, you burn out or you don't do it, do you?
No, it's weird. Like back when I fished like places like Sutton, it was kind of, you knew what big ones were in there, and they was obviously your targets, and you stayed on there till you caught them. And then and I started getting into the routine of, I want to go and fish toll pits now because that plodder's a nice fish, and the other ones that are in there are all nice, like the top 3 big ones in there, and you sort of go there and you achieve something like I caught plodder. So then I thought, well, I don't want to go now, like, you know. And it was the same on Horton. I was after to try and catch shoulders. I mean, what historic carp, and when I went on it, hardly ever came out. Like, I think it went missing for 18 months or something like that. But when I finally caught it, I just couldn't believe it had gone in the net. And that's how it all sort of started after that. I started kind of like targeting fish more.
Where do you think that comes? When I think of you, I think of big carp. I'm under no preconception that you want loads of bites. No. I don't think you really care size-wise. All right, if there's a real big one. But for you, that target element, that big carp fishing, low stock waters, tough challenge, where do you think that thing's come in for?
I think like I'm quite competitive anyway, mainly with myself, not against other people. Like the training, like I said earlier on, I go running, and you know, it's weird because I go running there, and I'm getting older now, and obviously it's getting harder, and I'm still challenging myself. I've done it in 30 minutes. Tomorrow I want to do it in 29 minutes, you know, and I think it's the same with my fishing. I know that a certain carp lives in a certain lake, and that's my goal. That's my get up and go every day, is to think of that carp and go and catch it, you know, and that's the kick. That's what I get. That's my buzz.
Do you think it's because of like any influences when you first got into carp fishing? Do you think it's anything like that?
Not really. I think it's just the waters you fish and the anglers you bump into, and it kind of rubs off on you. You know, you're fishing a water where there's particular anglers on there that are similar-minded, and you think, like, yeah, he's moved on to that lake and he's chasing that fish, and I fancy a go at that one, or I fancy a challenge, like, you know, I don't know. It just progressed. I mean, I think if I had to just go and fish runs waters or waters, heavily stocked waters with no real targets in there, I wouldn't have as much interest. You know, definitely. I don't think I'd be as driven. I'd probably go fishing because I love fishing. But, you know, out of all my mates, as far as I know, I'm one of the few that's never stopped. Since I got out of the army, and before I was in the army, I've never stopped fishing. I've fished all the time. Never get bored of it. I love the outside. I love being out in nature. Like where a lot of the places I'm fishing now, I'm on my own all the time. I'm not really with many other anglers because they're 20 acres away. You see each other and have a chat now and then. You're on the phone, aren't you? But like, I like my own space. I'm in my own little world, you know, with nature and living life outside, which I love. Always have done.
It's interesting. You referenced the military there. It's obviously a massive part of your life. We're going to talk a little bit around that. Yeah. But I've noticed, and I've had a few carp anglers, Dave Levy, the likes of, who've had sort of military backgrounds, who have then sort of excelled when it comes to that sort of big carp fishing, whether it's something to do with the mindset being sort of similar, or whether having that determination, that sort of, I don't know, that drive in you that sort of is you, but is obviously reinforced through the military stuff, and then to sort of take it into carp fishing, and ultimately are mega successful because they'll go through all the hardships and push through it to get a result. No, do you reckon that's true?
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of ex-military carp anglers in there.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of veterans that are, you know, in the veteran groups at the minute. They're all into carp fishing. I've been to Sandhurst and fished over there with the veterans, and they all love it. Like, and it's a good bit of downtime for them. It's a lot of them to get their minds straight after being in certain conflicts and that. But it seems to carry on. People like myself, Chile, Dave Levy. There's loads of anglers out there, and I think they just put their kind of military background into their fishing. Like, constantly being on the bank and I don't know, they're just driven like differently. I think they just seem to, I don't know.
Yeah, no, fair dues. I can see a lot of parallels, but it's interesting. Like, there seems to be some common threads when it comes to sort of that big carp mindset, and everyone references nowadays. It's a bit of a cliche with regards to mindset, but you can definitely see it in certain characters, and it transfers into like your lifestyle, your training, all that sort of health, like that probably people wouldn't see in your sort of carp fishing persona, but you were on it, mate, ain't you? Like gym every day,
mate, every day.
Fasting.
I'm very routine. Like a lot of, I get up every morning. I've got a gym at home there. That come about during COVID lockdown. There's no gyms to train in, and I was out on my punch bag in my back garden running around the quarry, and I actually enjoyed lockdown to be isolated on the fishery because it was like my back garden and it was beautiful. Everything was shut. The fish were doing what they should be doing, and it was lovely being out there, and I was keeping myself quite fit. But I built a gym because obviously there was nowhere to go, and now I've got a gym there. I love it. I mean, like this morning, I was in there at 6 this morning, sweating my head off for an hour before I come here. I go running on the hills most mornings. If I'm not fishing, I'm training. That's the start of my day. My day starts off with training if I'm not fishing, and then I've got jobs around the fishery and jobs at home. The wife keeps me busy, mate. She's always bossing me about and giving me loads of jobs to do. Drives me flipping mad, she does.
You ever taken her fishing?
She's never. She went fishing with me years ago on a lake called, what's the name of it? I think of the name of it. We used to have a fishing there called Starburst. With not with an O, with, I can't think of the name. Johnny Mack fished there and a few others. A really nice carp in there. I took her fishing. We set up in this little copse, put a big 2-man bivvy up, and I looked round. She was sitting there in her pajamas with a glass of wine within 2 minutes. Like she even brought pajamas with her, and it was nice. We had a nice little time together and enjoyed it. But like she's surrounded by fishing and fishermen, and she just like she would go if I asked her to go.
Yeah,
but
she lives it every day, but on that side pretty much. Yeah,
she runs the fishery behind the scenes. She does everything, like all the memberships, and she deals with all of that because it give me a headache, all of that. And it's good really that she runs it because I can always say you have to speak to Joanne. Don't ask me if that's the boss.
Talk to the boss.
Yeah, I'll just get involved in running, hands-on running of the fishery, like with the bailiffs and the members. We've got a good little system over there. I mean, we've done it. I've been there 21 years this year, and every single year I've done this. As soon as the fish show any signs of spawning, the lake's shut. This year, both lakes were shut at the same time, which is unusual. Normally, Brook Lake go before the main lake, Carthagena Lake, because I don't know why there's a lot of shallow channels in there with reeds, and they just get that water warms up quicker.
Are they quite different, the two lakes? I think I've only seen Brook Lake.
Yeah, Brook Lake's heavily featured.
Yeah,
covered in gravel bars. We used to have like the gravel works over the back that used to draw water from Brook Lake and wash the gravel through. And it was an ugly contraption they had there. Thankfully, that went quite a few years ago now. But because of that, they were drawing water out of the lake all the time because they had irrigation rights. And the water levels were up and down, and I could never get the swim levels correct.
Okay.
And because it was quite low a lot of the time, the vegetation just grew on the bars and pads everywhere. It looked like a jungle, but it looked, to us looking at it, looked amazing, like, gin clear. You'd have trees growing out the gravel bars and everything. But then, and then we built all the swims because it was a hard place because the banks were quite steep and all that. And it was hard to do, but we managed to get all the swims done. And then when they stopped working, the water levels come up to its natural level and flooded the lakes. So then we had to build the whole swims again, like a foot or so higher. It cost bloody fortunes, Anyway, so we've done all that, and because the water levels rose so much, the bars weren't exposed, so all the vegetation disappeared underwater and become just pads and stuff like that. And the lily pads that were growing, a lot of them had disappeared because the water's a lot deeper. And and Brook Lake is different to the main lake. The main lake is not, there is gravel in there, but it ain't a very gravelly lake. It's very silty. They're both old. I think when I moved in, I think Brook Lake was 90 years old. So now you're talking 110 years old. I think it's like one of the oldest lakes in Hertfordshire, as far as I know. I've got photocopies going back, from the
records,
newspapers going back in the 60s. fishing for tench on there and stuff like that. Not that I didn't know that there was any carp in there. And when we took over, the actual lake itself had a bad oxygen level because of it wasn't run as a fishery. It was just an overgrown hole in the ground, and the work we've done over there to transform it is amazing. But it took 20 years. But yeah, we lost a lot of fish to begin with because all the lily pads and everything used to rot down in the gullies of the bars year after year after year after year. It was all right because there weren't no carp in there. But as soon as we put fish in there, they started feeding in amongst the silt and stripping the oxygen out of the lake.
Yeah, oxygen.
And I was getting casualties. I was getting fish dying. And then one particular year, we lost practically nearly all of them, I got some specialists in to have a look and do tests of the silt and stuff like that. And basically, it was in the right mess. It needed silt Xing and everything. And once we started silt Xing it, it turned around, And to be honest, where it used to just be all sort of chod on the bottom and silt, now there's quite a lot where the fish have just fed and where we've limed it and silt X'd it over the years. It's gradually it's quite gravelly now, but we've still got loads of silt in there, but it's a lot more healthier than it used to be. And whereas the other lake is just old and silty and there's little gravel plateaus here and there. And so it's funny because on the lake I'm on now, I've been using the donking rod quite a bit, which is something I never get the chance to do on any other lake. But because I can use a boat there, you go out with a donking rod. I don't know if you ever tried it. Have you ever tried a little 6-foot donking rod, a bit of braid on, mate, with a big ball head, and the difference, that's really choddy, that's weedy. Oh, that's getting a bit firm, and all the bubbles coming up where you're in the silt, and then that's firm clay, and it's so amazing. And I went out on my lake doing it the other day because I thought it's closed. I'm going to go out there and have a little look.
Main lake, this?
The main lake, Carthagena Lake, because basically what I was going to get to before is what we do when the fish spawn, and we've all got we do a draw, and everyone's got to swim, and we can feed the carp. So
it's a cool system, this, isn't it?
So
I like this.
I can get. I thought I've never donked the lake. I want to go out there. And anyway, I've drawn a swim. I always do the start of the season on our lake. I like to be involved with the anglers, and I think they like me to go on there and fish it as well.
But initially you shut it, don't you? So signs of spawning, you shut it, then do a draw for when it's going to reopen.
Yeah.
How long do you give that?
Well, what we do, first signs of spawning, a week later, the following weekend, we've got a Facebook page. I'll put it on there that there's a work party. Fortunately, this year, both work parties were on both lakes the same weekend. Yeah. So they do a Saturday and a Sunday. We get everything done. We always smash out so much work. You get a big list of everything, trees and decking and whatever needs doing. And on a Sunday, we normally finish about lunchtime. And this last weekend, it was like flipping hot, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We were all burnt and just done. By Sunday lunchtime, we'd all had it. Anyway, we do the draw for swims. So, if, for instance, say there's 10 or 12 people in the draw for the main lake, they draw their swims, whatever swim they get, they can then feed that swim for the next 6 weeks till the season starts.
Oh, wicked.
So then the fish have all spawned. The last thing they want is anglers fishing for them. So they're just chilled at the minute. You walk around, they're coming past your feet, and like they were up on the Cops Lake, not the Cops, the Church Lake earlier. They're doing what they normally do when they're not being hunted for, and they're relaxed and they're eating. They're absolutely troughing at the moment. I put some bait out on the spot yesterday and day before yesterday, and they were going berserk over it, and it's nice to see. So they've all spawned. The last thing they want is to be caught. They've got, because it's already a week in, once we do the draw, the anglers have got 5 weeks to feed them. So now all the carp are getting fed excessively, which is great. It's quite good, really, because when the start of the season comes, nothing comes out because they're all full up.
They all
think it's going to be Billingsgate at the start because I've been feeding this spot for 5 weeks. I mean, I've done it before. I fed a spot for 5 weeks. They were jumping all over it, thinking, I'm going to have it off.
Easy, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even get a bite. I think I got one off the margin rod. I didn't get one off my spot, and I baited it for 5 weeks.
But also, mate, as soon as lines go in, they know, don't they?
Yeah. We try to keep it. We say to the lads, by the time the season starts, it's brilliant. It's like June the 16th, as it used to be. All the lads will turn up on the way we do it, right? They turn up on, it always starts on a Friday. Most of the lads will turn up throughout that day and put their bivvies up. Then we'll have a nice barbecue around the clubhouse and a few beers. And then early evening, they go back to their swims. And I say to them, what you want to do is you should already have your lines clipped up and everything should be sorted.
Yeah.
You don't want to be spodding. You don't want to be casting a lead anywhere apart from your rigs. So I let them cast that about 9 o'clock, little firework goes off or an air horn or something, and the rods all go out to the clip. You know, the last thing you want is making next door spodding and all that. It's just going to ruin it. And these fish ain't stupid. They've been fished for a long time. So, so we have a barbecue, all the rods go in, and then these lads can now fish that swim for 3 days. None of the other members are allowed on.
Yeah.
That's part of the deal that they get through doing a work party. So they do Saturday, Sunday and Monday. And we have a rule on there. It's 48, 72 hours in a swim, 3 days in a swim. And that's right. 72 hours in a swim. All it does is it stops if anyone has got a lot of time to fish. It stops swims being not rotated, but you don't want to come down. That geezer's always in that swim. So what he does, do 3 days. He can stay on site. He's got to move, and I think he can't get back in that swim for another 48 hours or something. It just stops people that can't do the time can turn up and generally get in somewhere, and so they can do the first 3 days of the season, and then the members are allowed to then start coming and fishing. Most people that do that weekend and go work, but you get a few that's book a week off. And then so they do the Saturday, Sunday and Monday plus a Friday night. And then on Tuesday morning, the regulars, the members are allowed to turn up. Yeah. And then it starts the 3 days. So if you chose a swim, you potentially can get 7 nights in that swim. Mm-hmm. And you've been baiting it for 5 weeks. So, and what I let them do for the first 3 days, it doesn't matter because that swim's theirs for 3 days. They can go work if they want, come back and fish. But once the 3 days starts, they're only allowed off the lake for 2 or 3 hours. Yeah. And it works. And I just find that come the autumn, the fish weights are up really well because they've had 5 weeks feeding their heads off, excessively. Mm-hmm. And it shows because when the season starts, it doesn't go berserk like you think it's going to. No. It's just fulfilled by then. They've got a lot of naturals in the lake. And that's how we do it. I've done that for 20 odd years and I wouldn't change it.
Mate, it's a good system. It's good for the fish as well, mate. They get that time, don't they?
Yeah. Stock wise in those 2 lakes, how does it compare? Because I've seen Brook Lake and all the fish are incredible, mate.
Yeah, well Brook Lake has carps of just under 55. An incredible common called bullnose.
Wow.
I mean, that is just an unbelievable carp. And when the water was clear, it was jet black. Absolute jet black. One of the lads, Lee Wheeler, he caught it this last just before spring, and the water was a little bit coloured, and then it just went nice and clear, and then he went and caught it. So you couldn't have got it at a better time. And I think he had it at 54 something, and it's growing like crazy. I mean, it came out on the bank last year, and it was kind of after spawning as well, and it's 52, and it looked longer, and I thought, God, that's grown in length, Wow. And then it was just. I don't know the exact weight. I know I'm sure it was over 54. And there's 3 other commons in there that do 40. There's another mirror in there that does 40. Quite a lot of 30s in there, a hell of a lot of 30s that are all pushing on now. It's a good water. Brook Lake is kind of out of the 2. I'd say it's easier to get a bite in there. Right. I think it's just due to the topography of the lake because it's so up and down. Anyone that knows how to find spots can find some decent spots and trick the fish. If it's just an empty lake with not much in it, it gets harder, I think, because the fish are more aware of lines and everything else. But in them swims, because there's so many little features in there, the fish are just going about their business, and they must, they just come across a bit of bait and I'll have that. It's just it seems like you can get a bite in there a lot easier than you can in Carthagena Lake.
What's Carthagena Lake? Well, how big's Carthagena Lake?
Cartagena Lake's about 7 acres, 8 acres, something like that.
And the stock in there, numbers wise, size wise?
I couldn't tell you numbers. 70 odd, 60 odd, something like that. 70 odd. Probably Tango, the biggest commons, done 54, I think. So I've got nearly 2 mid-50 commons, 1 in each lake. Brook Lake was always behind the main lake for the sizes, but they're catching up now. Well, they've overtook. I'd say Bullnose is bigger than Tango most of the time now. And they're really sort of coming through. But in the main lake, because we've had such a staggered stocking and only a few here and there, the fish in the main lake are the old ones in there are over 50 years old. I caught a really nice one last autumn at just under 49, 48, 12. Beautiful fish, fish called the Unknown. Real lovely mirror, little round tail, like absolutely stunning, mate. And we've got fish like that are just once a year fish. I mean, I went on there and said, I don't fish it that often, but sometimes if I've finished on a water for the year and I'm at home, I think, a bit of downtime there, but I'll still fish, like, you know, I'll jump on our lakes. And I caught the Unknown last, I don't know if it was October, November time. It was actually a really good little situation. I was fishing a swim and I'd watched them sheeting up in between the two swims in a bit of like no man's land.
Okay.
And the next morning, that morning I see the bubbling, then later in the day I put a rod out, a little marker out there just to have a look, and went into the swim next door and thought it's accessible from both swims without really interfering either way. Anyway, I remember putting quite a bit of bait out there, and
what's the spot? Just silty?
It was a spot that the fish were feeding on.
Yeah.
You know, it was silt, basically, just silt, but it was sheeting up where they were feeding, and obviously lined it all up to roughly where it was and put a rod out there. Went next door and marked it all up next door as well, because I thought if I tie them out in here, I can go next door and still have a rod on the same zone. And I think I baited it quite heavily. I put about 5 kilo bait out there. And then that night I had a 23 and a 40, a low 40 fish called Neptune. So, yeah, buzzing on that. And then timed out in a swim, went next door, fished the same area from the swim next door, and had the Unknown. I think it's the first time out that year. Last year it was the first time out, right at the end of the year. 48 plus. Absolute cracking carp. So like there's a few like that in there, old ones. We've got one called Sandy. We did have a stunning lever in there, which I think's gone now. That was doing scraper 40. And a proper lever, like little round tail, absolutely
rare then, mate.
Right, such a lovely carp, and sadly, I think that's gone. You know, you're going to lose these old ones. It's just nature and the way it goes. And they're like my friends. I've known them for a long while now, and every time one of them goes, it flipping destroys me, like, you know. But you've just got to accept that it's brought a lot of pleasure to a lot of anglers, and these fish have never been hammered. Like these old ones are so clever and so wise. Once, twice a year max, like, you know. Some of them don't come out from one year to the next. I think Tango went missing once for so long, we just thought it weren't here anymore, and then it come out at 48. Was it 40? No, 45. It's just when it was when it was starting to grow, like, you know, just went missing. And but I've got like other strains that are coming through. I put some Suttons in there many years ago, and they're doing sort of scraper 40s.
Wow.
And they're stunning. Some of them, one of them, fish called Snaps, jet black. I'll have to show you a picture of it. Absolutely amazing, that Snaps. And so, like, we've got the Suttons, fish called Paw Print that's getting up there. And I forget half of them myself, like, you know, and because they don't come out from one year to the next. And then there's an Italian strain that went in years ago. And then there's some horseshoe strain that went in years ago.
Yeah.
One of them apples, that's doing 40 plus. At the right times, probably a dozen or 15 40s in there.
That's unbelievable, mate. The quality of the fish are unbelievable, but also, like, just hearing you talk about it then, you don't strike me, and we've all been on those complexes where you get lake owners that don't really like you catching their fish. It must be weird. Yeah. That trade-off, like you said, between, I mean, you're angling for them, but other people catching them, you don't seem to, like, not mind, but you that's part of it. You're happy with that, aren't you? That's a buzz.
I am protective over them, though.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I can't help it.
You've got to be a bit, haven't you?
You know, someone will have a fish and one of the bailiffs will ring me and say, so-and-so's got so-and-so. Who's with him? Is someone with him? Is someone, I want people there protecting that fish. I don't want it jumping out his arms. And did it go back okay? Did it swim off all right? Yeah, I am protective, and rightly so. Obviously, you know, we ain't got all the anglers over there are good anglers. Like, they all know what they're doing. But even so, like, I still worry, you know, I don't care who they are. Like,
you're going to worry. It's livestock, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, it's just like, it's more than just a fish to me. It's just, they're my friends, like, you know. I want them looked after, and rightly, you know. That for me goes with any lake I'm fishing. I look after them. You know, we all do, don't we, you know.
The actual stocking, mate, when you took on twofold, how did you get that site, that house, those lakes? And also, when you did get them, what was evidently in there? Because there was some tench fishing, but I'm guessing the original stock were in there.
Mate, their original stock was unbelievable. When we first went on there, the only big fish I knew of was a common, and then we called it the mint, because it was just incredibly beautiful fish. And I remember a guy had it 31, 32 off the top. And that was the biggest fish that I knew of in there, and big fish then, still a big fish now, but it was 21 years ago, it was like the biggest in there. And I knew that come out. I knew there was another common that we called the prehistoric that done 29. Didn't know a lot else about it because it was kind of like, it just weren't really that many sort of. I always knew about the lake. I used to always look at it as I used to fish over Nazeing Meads over the road, and always knew the lake was there. And occasionally I'd go and jump over the gate and go and have a walk round, but never really sort of just look round it like we all do. Go and look at lakes, really took a lot of notice of it. And little did I know what sort of stunning carp were living in there, And the guy that had it before me, Peter Brill, he was there 30 years, and he gave me a stocking thing. All it was a sheet of paper with like an invoice basically for what he bought, and he put so many 100 fingerlings in there at inches, And out of say 700 or 800 little fish that went in there many, many years ago, the ones that we had when we turned up, but what survived, I don't think he ever stocked it any other time that I know of. And these were all the fish that lived in there. And then when we turned up and started really feeding them, they just started growing. They'd been in there a long while, but they started growing. I think they're 50 plus years old, the originals. And over the years, the ones that have gone because they're just so old are just, when you think back on them, just incredible carp. Anyway, one of my friend's sons was fishing it, and my friend rang me one morning and said, "Can you go and see Tony? He's got a really nice carp up there, £35." And I went, "Oh, that'd be the mint." He went, I said, "The common." He went, "Oh, no, it's a mirror." I said, "Really?" I said, "Well, blimey, I never knew there was a mid-30 mirror in there." So I went and had a look, and this carp was amazing. We ended up calling it Double D. It had two great big scales on its flank, and the other side was plain, but just the same as all the little tail, very leathery on one side, just like all the originals, the ones that left today, like the Unknown and the fish, they just all look similar, obviously from the same batch.
Yeah.
And it was £35, and that went on to be our first 40 in there, and it went sort of 41, 42. And then one day I got the phone call, there's a big fish floating up in the bay, and I was like, "Oh, really?" And I said, "I bet I know what this is," because it is really weird. It used to live under this bush, like Basil's bush on Yatelely, where we had D's bush, Double D's bush. And it used to live under there. And it only really come out and ventured around the bay, or it'd come out during spawning time. You'd see it around the lake, but it never really went far. And when it was found, it weren't far from where it lived. And I thought, I bet that's Double D. And it was. And I was gutted, because we always wanted to get a 40-pounder in the lake, and we got one, then we lost it. I think it went up to about 42. Even Terry come and fish for it once. It's such a lovely old carp, mate. Yeah. Really, really lovely carp. But sadly lost that. And over the years, we've lost quite a lot of absolutely amazing carp. But the way it's been stocked, these ones are coming through, and they're getting old now. So
it's a mega ticket, mate. Everybody that talks about it, that I know that's fished it, it's an incredible fishery, which is testament to the work you've done.
I'm very proud. I'm surrounded by a good bunch of lads.
Yeah,
I've always had good lads on there. Some of them do their time and then move on, but I've just always had a good bunch of lads. We don't have a lot of bailiffs, but the ones we've got, they're always there to help. We've got some that are really good chippies, and they've all got different trades. But when what it's like on a lake, when you've got these guys, they turn up with van loads of tools and
useful, mate. Useful to have about, definitely.
I can't, the work that we get done over there is phenomenal, and you do a work party and you look back and think, Christ Almighty, what a good weekend we've had, what we've achieved, and when it's like now, I walk around it now and it's just beautiful.
Yeah,
stunning.
How'd you get it, mate? How'd you get the site? Because the house, your house, the lakes, the Weir, that, I don't know what it would cost, but it'd be an absolute ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah, we the house was for sale. just walking along the river once with my mother and father-in-law, my missus, and we looked at the house. Excuse me. We looked at the house, and it just like it was for sale. And Peter Brill lived in there.
This is 21 years ago, yeah?
21 years ago, this August, I think. August 23rd rings a bell. So like the house was for sale. Didn't think we'd ever get it. And it was there was 2 estate agents having it up for sale up in the town. So my father-in-law is a good businessman, and over the years he's had a few good businesses, and he knows what he's doing when it comes to buying property and stuff like that. And we went into the estate agents, and the estate agent actually turned around and said, no, I'm sorry, someone's put an offer in already. So he went, oh, never mind then. And then we went and knocked on the door and spoke to the owner of the house, and he said, sorry, sold. The house is gone. It's already gone. Like, he said, my father-in-law said, has any money changed hands, deposit or anything? He went, no, nothing yet. So my father-in-law just sold one of his properties that he had, and he went, well, how about if I give you 100 grand now? He said, well, that's security. He went, yep, done. We nicked it.
Bit his hand off.
Yeah, we stole it, And so, mother and father-in-law moved in with us, and we all lived together because it's quite a big house. And since then, they've bought property in Portugal, and they live out in Portugal now, but they come back and live, because like one side of the house they live in, and we share it, like, basically. Yeah. But they come and stay there when we're in India. So when we go to India, they don't want to be in Portugal in the winter. Out there, it's a bit quieter, and they've got a lovely, lovely place out there and a lot of friends. A lot of them come home, but it's ideal because they come back and look after our tortoises.
Tortoises?
I've got 2 of them, 2 soul cutters, the ones that grow like size of a coffee table.
No,
I've got 2 of them, incredible creatures, mate.
Just mooching about on the old little island there.
Yeah, they're not quite big enough. Well, they're out now. They're a little bit bigger now, but got a little hut built from right. And this is the first year they've been out all day in the garden, but you're forever looking for them,
What, even though they're not the size of a coffee table yet?
No, they're the biggest ones, sort of, if you can see, about that big at the minute.
Well,
but when I got them, they was like that.
Oh, wicked. Do they live like to their
100 odd years old, mate? They're I think they come from the desert, these ones. They're a desert. They don't hibernate. And in my office, I've got like a little enclosure for them, like up high, and they have lamps on them and all that to keep them warm, especially in the winter. But in the summer, they're out in the garden, and eventually they'll be too big to be indoors. My mate's got one, and he's got a little heat lamp in his one, and his tortoise is like bleeding JCB. He just walks around like munching everything, and he's even seen his tortoise going up and down the farm track in the winter with snow outside, But yeah, he's got a little heat lamp in there, and he knows where to go. He just goes in, and that's what eventually will happen there. We've had this building built for them outside.
Yeah.
And it has like a plasticky door on it so they can push through and get in there. And when it's cold, they'll have a heat lamp on at night.
Tortoise flap, mate. Yeah. It's different level, mate. Dog, cat flap now.
I'll have to take them over the lake on a barrow, so they can have a little go around over there. But they are sods for digging, At the minute, all they do, I've had to sort of, underneath all the gates, I've had to put timber there to stop them going under the gates because they're only small. But once they get bigger, they won't really be able to get out, but they can dig. They're like excavators when they get big. My mate's one said it digs under the farm fences and goes off. Gets found in the next farm and stuff like that.
Jeez, tortoise.
Yeah. So we moved in 21 years ago, and the rest is history, mate.
Last question on the topic, mate.
Yeah.
Owning a lake, everything in. This is fish deaths, people catching them, brilliant fish coming through, all that sort of stuff. Is it what every carp angler thinks in terms of actually living the dream of having your own lake?
It is personally fantastic for me. Yeah, I absolutely love it. It always comes with its problems, mate. It's like any job, any profession. There's always bits and pieces. Most of the time, it's just dealing with public. The public can be a nightmare. Not just the anglers, but people that just turn up on the fishery, walking around.
What's the worst you've had? You had some weirdos?
Yeah, all sorts, mate.
What you had?
Oh, just over the years, I don't know. I'll have to think, but it's just sometimes you just things happen and I don't know. Don't want to put the wrong perspective on it, but
right.
There's a lot of nutty people around these days that just like to climb over your fence and walk around and stuff like that, But every every profession has its little problems, no matter what you do, like, you know, but there ain't really been no major problems over there. Everything's been sweet, really.
They're going to mess around with you, boy, are they? Do you know what I mean? Flipping hell. All the
I've got cameras everywhere, mate. I actually have. I've got cameras. I've got one that spins round.
Yeah.
And if I'm away in India, I can zoom in and...
You've got it on your phone or something?
Yeah, on my phone. It's not, like, intrusive into swims, but I can see around the lake, like, you know.
Yeah.
It's just so many... I'd love to be able to pick the whole place up and move it into the middle of nowhere. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
And have it even more isolated. It's always looking for that isolation and just, like... I live in a lock house, and you wouldn't believe it. The boats that go up and down out there, you know, some of them are coming through at midnight, and they just don't turn their music down some night, and you think, come on, like, it's residential, this is. Look at us, you know what I mean?
Yeah, mate, I get it, I completely get it. But incredible site, incredible place, and mate, fair play to you. It does look like
I don't own all of it. We own bits and pieces of it, like, you know.
I'd take any of it, mate. I'd squat on it if you're out in India, mate.
Yeah, you're welcome.
No, I'm joking. We're going to go back and look at some sort of fishing chapters, mate, because you've done an awful lot as a reference before. Now you obviously own your own lakes, but historically, for you, when you look back at sort of, and I know there was the whole military career and that came in, when did sort of proper carp angling, big carp angling, where was the first place that you think that is the sort of start of what I would perceive as my big carp career, if you like?
It's got to go back to Hainult.
Have you?
Yeah, do you know Hainult?
Yeah, Hainult, it's infamous, mate.
When we fished Hainult, in our little world, there weren't nowhere else. It was just Hainult forever.
Because it's the same deck, like around Dempsey's time.
Yeah. Well, Terry's a little bit younger than me. He basically, I sort of started fishing. I wrote about it in my book. I was fishing over Hainult as a kid. I had a neighbour that was a little bit older than me, and one of his family used to drop us over Hainult, and we used to have to walk across the field with all our gear. We weren't carp fishing. We were float fishing, whatever, swim feeding, and, like, you know, what you sort of start off with. And we used to do night fishing. It was so exciting. I wouldn't sleep for 2 days on the pretense of going night fishing. And I remember we had like an umbrella, probably, if it was even 45 inches. I don't know how small they were, but it was small. And we used to have a plastic wrap that went around the outside of it. I don't know, like years and years ago, before bivvies came out. And we'd both be sat under there with night floats and torches, you know, thinking we're fishing for carp and stuff like that, but we weren't really catching much of anything. And down from us, there was a guy carp fishing, and he was fishing right into the bay, to the back of the bay over at Hainult. I can still remember it to this day. And he had a couple of I don't know if it's 3 rods, but he had at least 2 big rods up fairly high with the old the
monkey climbers. What do you have?
Yeah, the
bottle tops,
needles. He had the big needles dug in the ground with the yogurt carton rings on them. I think in the daytime he was fishing paternoster style floating crust, stuff like that. You know, amazing. I think he had some sort of heron bite alarms or whatever they were. And he had an upright umbrella. It was a double diamond umbrella. I can still remember it, like red in colour. Must have been a rubbery one. And he had a tarpaulin thing around the outside of it made to fit. So he was obviously quite an advanced angler for the time, like. And during the night, I've just heard it's absolutely lashing down, and I just heard this alarm going, like, and I was awake. Me and my mate never slept. Just go home from there shattered after 2 days fishing, no sleep for 2 days, and his rod's nearly got nearly gone in the lake, like, you know. And I've run along beside him, and I'm on his shoulder, like, while he's playing this fish. And he caught this amazing carp. It just looked enormous to me. I think it was 22 pound, rings a bell.
That's massive anyway, man.
Yeah, I don't know how old I was. It had to be the late 70s, I suppose. It would have been, might have even been a bit earlier than, like, mid-70s, something like that. I was only young. I was only like 12 or something like that, 13. Still allowed to go fishing then. My mum didn't mind. Honestly, we was getting on a bus sometimes and go, and she never minded. Anyway, so he's caught this carp, and I was just blown away by it, like, absolutely blown away. And I remember he put it into Hessian sack and kept it in the margins, like, you know. And he said, I'll show it properly when it gets light, boy. He, like, you know, I went, all right. And I went and sat with him, and he showed me his rigs. He was using tins of spam, like luncheon meat, cutting the little cubes out and putting a blade of grass or a bit of spaghetti, you know, on the back of the hook. And then he got the fish out and showed me. I remember it had all red blotches all over it, little bits of little bleeding bits where it's been rubbing against, but
Sack, yeah.
didn't mean nothing. Like, that was such a phenomenal fish, and the memory of him catching that has stayed with me forever. And ever since, he showed me a few things, you know. I was so young, like, you know, but then from that day on, that just stayed in my mind. I want to catch them carp, like, you know. And me and my mates used to start going over there and camping and having a laugh more than anything. And it wasn't until I was a bit older, one of my dad's friends had, I'm not sure if he had a caravan or something at Waveney back in the day.
Valley, yeah.
Yeah, and he whipped up his own rods and that. And I remember the first rods I had, Romford Angling Tackle Shop back then, were the only shop that done anything for carp fishing that I can remember. And I bought these blanks, Jerry Savage, fiberglass blanks.
Yeah.
And I went round my friend, I had level whipped tennis handles, level whipped with a Fuji reel grass put on them. And I went to my dad's friends and he taught me to whip my eyes on, Fuji eyes. And I had my own set of cart rods, Jerry Savage cart rods. And I think I matched them with Mitchell 810s, something like that. I was then a carp angler, like, you know, as far as I was concerned. Don't think I had any alarms back then. It's just fishing on rod rest with bobbing, like, you know, very liquid top. And that's when I started over Hainult Lake fishing for the carp. And I was really, really sort of learning and getting into it. Just at the time, I joined the army. So I kind of...
What age did you join the army, mate?
16, straight from school. So I've just got my first proper little carp set up, like, and really sort of going over Hainult as much as I could. Like, I loved it over there. It was just like a little world to me. Once you was over that lake, you just forgot about the rest of the world. You was just there in amongst it, trying to catch these carp.
You catch one before you joined the army?
Don't think so. I think I had tench. Didn't catch any carp. And then I think whilst I was in the army, this is when, a little bit later, when Dempsey and all his lads were fishing Hainult, not long after I joined the army. And I think when I don't know if I was on leave or I think I must have been on leave once, and I came over Hainult for a walk round, and Terry and all his lads, Larry and Terry and all the names back then, were all set up, little dome tents and all that, waiting for the season to start, like June the 16th. And I thought, God, I think I managed to put together some tackle again, because I think I sold all the other stuff. And then I used to come home and basically we used to just go and poach somewhere, like, we didn't give a damn back then. Well, they weren't like it was today. You see a lake, go and fish it, like, you didn't really care. Didn't care who owned it or run it. Like, it's just back then, there weren't many carp anglers about, like, not too many, not like now. And you'd be on a lake and someone would come around and go, you know, there's no fishing here, and you'd just go, I'll pretend I didn't see you, you know what I mean? And we used to catch stuff. And then, like, basically I'd done my time in the army, and then when I got out of the army... How long were you in the army for? 8 years, something like that.
Wow.
7, 8 years. About 6, 7 years, something like that, 8 years. It seemed like a real long time, and it seemed like I was really old. But when I got out, I was only like 23, 24, because I went in at 16. But it really felt like I was old and everyone else was old. But when you look at a 23, 24-year-old now, they're children, and to think we was walking the streets of Northern Ireland, like, when I was 18, it was younger, much younger than that. Like, you know, you look at an 18-year-old now, imagine him defending us out at war. Do you know what I mean? Or Afghan, or anywhere like that. And you think, how did I ever do it? Like, but I just thought I was a man. You know.
Yeah.
When you come out and look back at youngsters now, they're still very, very young. You know, but I think you do grow up quick. You know, you have to. When you go in the army, you know, you're out there doing it, and you got to grow up quick. Otherwise, you ain't going to be around long. Do you know what I mean? You've got to really, grow up basically as quick as you can. So when I come out, I just got straight back into my carp fishing straight away, and I think I went on Hainult. I think Terry had moved on to Darren Tip Lake by then.
Yeah,
and it was on Hainult Lake, and to be honest, I struggled over there. I really did struggle. It was one of them lakes. I was very, very keen, and really worked at it. I mean, come June the 16th, I'd be bivvied up for 4 days, 5 days before the season started, and absolutely keen as mustard. We had a big, like a group of mates that all fished it, and it was a right camaraderie and a right bit of fun, bit of banter, and brilliant times. I wouldn't change it for anything, and it's like my stomping ground, really.
Yeah.
And the the carp in there are very special. We had the Hainult big un, which sort of went mid-30s at the time, which was a huge carp. I think Max Cottis caught it and a few others made it famous. Obviously Terry had it and that. And then there was another one we called the small 30, went low 30. And then there was one time when there was 3 30s in there. And I can remember my mate Neil, we wrote a chapter in my book. He caught all 3 of them. And there's a fish called the flop fish because it come from a lake called Fairlock Waters, and that dropped down below 30 after that. But the only time it went 30, he caught all 3 30s, and that's pretty unheard of in them days over there. Like, you know,
they're massive fish, aren't they, as well?
Yeah, I struggled over there. Just no matter what I'd done, we was on a really good bait. I mean, there was a guy called Peter Driscoll, and he was good mates with Dempsey and that years ago, and never known an angler like him. Very, very good angler. And
in what sense, mate?
Just in tune, really in tune. A bit like Terry, like, you know. He was one of them blokes. He lived for carp fishing and would catch wherever he went. But he was a bit of a bank tramp. He'd live on the lake as much as practically live on the lake, but way ahead of himself. You know, he used to put a nice rod together with full dupe line. He used to make rods up, Hardy's or Bruce and Walker's, and what are the other ones? I can't remember the rod blanks that he had, but he used to make a really nice rod, sell them like on the bank, and he was kind of like an innovator, like beyond the Cardinal 55s, and then he'd be using the 57s, and we're like, Pete's got the 57s, we'll have to get a set of them, like, you know, all sorts of stuff. And he was a comical guy, really, really good, very, very good angler. I mean, he went off over to Larksfield after Hainult. Pete did, kind of lived on there for a while, but it's really weird. He's gone missing. I ain't seen him ever since. Don't know. Apparently, all I know is he went off and joined some cult or something. And
did he?
Yeah, he was properly give up carp hang. He was absolutely obsessed with fishing. And then I know he done all that time over there. I think he went and fished Johnson's and Larksfield. He fished a lot of other places back in the day, but never heard from him since. I'd like to hear from him. I don't know what he's doing, but he was a bit of a same as Terry, same sort of breed as Terry.
Yeah, definitely. I get you complete, and that's an influence, isn't it, mate? When you go on, you got people like that about. It's definitely a form of past sense of it. Captures, Hainult, any?
Oh yeah, cool.
How long did that take?
I don't know how long I was on there for. It just seemed like it's a sort of lake that you fished and you never ever thought of anywhere else. Whereas now, everyone's going, when I finish here, I'm going to there. And then after that, I've got a ticket on so-and-so.
Yeah.
Back then, it was Hainult forever. Like, you know.
What was it?
You just didn't... It was the world. It was the only lake in the world as far as we're concerned. And I've still fished and talked to a lot of them guys today. We're all still good mates. Like, you know, loads
Are they all still anglers, most of them? Oh, that's wicked, isn't it?
Yeah, one of my long-time mates, Jay Willis, me and him, I remember Jay's a bit younger than me, walking around on his lunch break when he just started work, and he's 17 or something, 16, 17. I'd just come out the army. Very good angler, Jay, very good. He slayed it over there. He just had a method, like, he just kept catching them all the time. Like, he'd turn up on a weekend and Friday night, and then Saturday morning you'd hear his rod going in the morning, like, you know. We used to sort of, very silty, and as you can imagine, all the gaps in the trees had anglers in them, all bivvied up. So we used to backled, and we used to have our rods cranked up quite high, with the rod tips bent over, backled in the margins, and you just hear and his old backled coming out of the water on a. I feel, he's away again. And it was weird because we used to fish. We used to call it the silk rig, and it was basically like a choddy, really. It was like on the main line, you led, and we used to just push like a float, a bead up, a float stop up. And we used to have little tiny hook links like that. We started off on bottom baits, like, you know, sort of trapped, and then just cast so the lead went into the silt, and then your little hook bait laid on the silt, and we used to backled them. And then we started using pop-ups on it and everything. So it's very similar to the choddy, really. And we was using that back then, like, you know. We used to just call it the silt rig. And it worked a treat because Hainult was like, I don't know how deep the silt went on proper. Forever, that silt over there. I didn't find any hard spots in there, you know, only shopping trolleys and stuff like that. But it's a proper old park lake, you know. Yeah. Really good times. Yeah, I caught out there. I've had a fish called the Friendly. Quite a few others. I never got them. I had, there's a few funny stories. I was over there, I can't remember what time of the year it was. And do you remember Dacron? We used to have Dacron leaders before any type of leader come out. And that was the fashion. So everyone's using Dacron leaders. And I've hooked the Hainult small 30, so it was the second biggest in the lake. I've seen it. I'm playing it, and it's going up and down the margins. And right at the last bit, I got cut off by something in the margins, probably a bit of glass or something. It's a country park, so everything gets thrown in there. Could have been a tin can or whatever. Something cut me off, and it took with it a length of Dacron, And then later on in the day, one of the lads has come over with a pike bung, and he's flicking the pike bung about. Hold up, I'm into something. And he's looked around the pike bung, and he's played the small 30 and had photos with it.
He's had photos with it?
Oh, he had photos, yeah. And then another guy, there was a guy over there called Terry Butcher. He'd hooked the big un around the back of the island one day. He was playing it for ages, and eventually he lost it and left a bit of end tackle. And then it's a miracle, really. Some guy come over with a swim feeder. I don't know how he done it, but he put his hook through the swivel that was still attached to the small 30 and played it in. Like, how'd you get a little tiny 20 hook for a swivel in the middle of in a lake?
Probably harder than getting the bite in the first place.
Yeah, she's like obviously laid on the back in the bay at the back of the island, just like knackered after playing the fight for like half hour, 20 minutes back then on little soft rods. So just knackered, and the guy's come in like a wet bag, and he had a couple of photos with it as well. That's what they used to do back then.
Obviously I wasn't there, but you get so lost with like the modern day thinking and the modern day scene, and then you realise where it's come from in quite a relative short period of time. Yeah. Like you say, there's people there, and there's all sorts going on. There's Hessian sacks, there's people claiming stuff, and it's just how it is, because it's not what it is today.
It was it was crazy back then when you think back, but flipping great times. I wouldn't change it for nothing. That was my stomping ground, really. We was on Hainult. I don't know how many years I was on there. And then I'm trying to get it all in. We fished other lakes nearby. There was another lake at Fairlock Waters. We fished there. I remember they stocked that with carp, and that was quite a nice visual walk. You'd walk over to see the carp swimming about, and we fished for them. And then at some stage I moved out towards where I live now, over in Broxbourne way.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I moved in a house in Nazeing, drove down the road, and first I turned left into the sailing club entrance, and then you got Bracken's Pool and Nazeing Meads, centre of the south and the Lagoon, North Lagoon. Literally, 5 minutes around the corner. And I thought I've moved to heaven, And I think we went from there. Or did I go? Trying to get it. I can't. You know what? I can't even remember half of it. It's all in my book. But we fished Larksfield, we fished Brackens, Nazeing Meads, the North Lagoon, all them lakes all around there. And basically, my mates, when we went to Nazeing Meads, my mates went with me. There was Jay, my mate Mick Germain, Paul Heinen, all old school anglers from Hainult. They come with us, and we started off on the centre lagoon. It was like the ocean. I think it was about 60 acres, and it went through a bridge into another 30 acres. So I don't know if I'm right in the measurements of it, but say it's 70, 80 acres in total. It was the first sort of big lake we'd fished on, and in the close season, me and Jay and the other two lads, we baited the granny out of it. Still remember the bait we used and everything. What
did you use?
We was on main line, and it was the I'll tell you what flavours it was. It was Nash's. Red liver.
Yeah.
That used to do years ago, and salmon oil. Salmon. It was a salmon flavour, salmon. So it's red liver and salmon, and we used main lines fish and something. Real old. I can't remember the name of the base mix, but it was fish and something base mix that they used to do. And we used to just knock it up with the Nashy flavours, and we absolutely filled it in over there. And, we caught some nice fish. I don't know how many we had, but between the four of us, we had a good dozen or so carp out of a big lake. And
how big did they go to, mate?
Back then in there, scrape the 30s, some of them.
So did you have your first 20 at Hainult, do you reckon?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so and then your first 30, was that out of Nazeing or not?
Yeah, from what I can remember, Nazeing Meads.
Out
of Nazeing. I think, do you know what? I can't even think what 30. Do you know, I will have it all written down somewhere, but.
You caught so many, mate, and it's tight.
Out of there, there weren't many 30s about still, No. There weren't many. And to catch anything out of this lake, to us, it was the ocean, and we're catching these carp. we was happy with 20 pounders and stuff like that, you know. My mate Jay had a 20. I was fishing on this plateau. This feature that went out in the swim. We named the Gravelly because there's a big gravelly feature going out, and I was fishing off the end of it, and I had 2 or 3 bites, and Jay was fishing in the deeper water to my right, and he had a 22 pounder. We named it Tug in the end because it scrapped him like crazy, and it went on to live for quite a few years. That fish, and we all caught it, and there was another fish in there called Gerties, because my mate Mick Jermaine caught it. I think it was his first 30, and we ended up calling the swim Gerties in the end, I think, and the fish was called Gertie until someone else caught it and called it Tesco or something. They all used their names, but they were all new to us, like, you know. And I think obviously that's where I caught my 30 pounders. I think some of the fish many years before that were residents from Brecken's Pool, and they drained Brecken's Pool down and put the bigger residents into Nazeing Meads. And one of them was called Two Tone. I think I had that at 27. It looks like the fish from there. There was another one called Bill's Fish, which we never saw, but I caught one very similar looking, big, deep Italian strain. I think I had that at 30 or 29. And then there was one called Spot, which I caught a couple of times. These are 3 old originals that used to come from Brecken's Pool. Then they moved into a new home, and over the years I caught them and ended up catching quite a few. But the big fish in there at the time was a common that went about 34, 35 pound. Right. It was called the Big Common. Jay caught it the first season on the last day of the season. I can remember it clearly. He was in the swim next door. Like I was laying there in the sun, had a radio on my head, like listening to music, and he come running past, screaming and shouting. He had like the big one out of Nazeing Meads, the Big Common, as we called it.
But all this fishing is like, it's sort of like, I don't know, not pioneering, but you'll go in there, you just want to catch something, don't you? There's not this target element hasn't come in yet, has it? With regards to like,
not there.
Of course, no. you want to catch a big one, of course
anything,
but you're happy just the challenge of that expanse of water and being able to get a few bites is the main sort of draw. You're sort of, I don't know, stocking up your carping vocabulary on these different waters, isn't you?
Yeah.
Where's the first targets come in, mate? Where's that?
Well, what happened was we fished there for. Do you know what? I can't even remember. It was quite a long while, 6-7 years, something like maybe less than that. I can't remember. But they had a fish kill. The lake was really, really coming on. The trouble is with them waters, they're fed with the relief channel, which takes all the floodwater out of the valley. Whether something come in on that or what, I'm not sure. But we had a fish kill there, and they were really growing. We was getting quite a lot of 30s and. You know, still the traditional close season there, and then we just sit on the sluice and watch them coming in and out the sluice for the fresh water. And we've seen some really good fish, and it was doing quite a lot of 30s. And then sadly, they had the fish kill, and it's kind of the end of it for us over there. A lot of people left, and we sort of went our own ways. But me, Jay, another friend Neil, Paul, Mick, not Mick, Paul, Craig, we all went to Sutton at home from there. So we crossed, we took a big dare and got our guts up, and we went to. Across the river into the dark side.
The dark side.
Yeah.
Was it? There's a lot of sort of nervousness around going on there?
There was, because that lake, Sutton's, only a small lake. I don't know how many acres, 3 acres, something like that. And I knew there was some big fish in there, hardtail Gertie. There was 2 big commons, fully scaled. Didn't know much about the fully scaled. And you had hardtail Gertie and you had blind eye, the 2 big mirrors. And then there was a big common that back then was massive, from anywhere I'd fished. And then there was another common that backed that up, and then all the rest of the Suttons that were all coming through the ranks. And when we went over there, we were kind of it was good banter over there. There was a lot of the old Sand and Rand crew over there, the Richworth boys and Stevie Edwards, and like proper old school anglers, and they used to call us the Essex boys, like, here's the Essex lads, they ain't going to catch nothing, They kind of, grilled us a little bit, and you should stay over the other side of the river, it's easier over there, and all that, over the other side of the bridge. And we just took it in our stride, because in amongst our little clique, got some good anglers. We didn't really know it, but Jay and Neil and Craig and all them, were all very good anglers in their own little way, And we just went about our business, and it was rock hard, because Sutton, we used to get there for about 3:30 in the morning, little residential car parks, you had to be quiet, and every morning there was a draw at 4:00. So you do the draw, all your tickets went in a carrier bag. Where do you want to go? I want to go here. I want to go there. And people walk on the lakes. And I believe as soon as that gate was open, the carp knew that the anglers were arriving. It was only a little lake. And, you know, what noises like, people shutting the gate, opening the gate and clumping around the lake with their barras and all that. Anyway, the carp was so hard to catch in there back then. And we used to sort of run, I would move 3 times in a day, and you got a full setup because you're tired, so you need your bed chair and your sleeping bag, especially if it's cold time of the year. You know, you might start off in an area that you fancy for that morning. This is how you learnt. You learnt more about the lake as you went on. You think it was a good area for as soon as I get here. Later on, they tend to move up there, so I'm going to move up there. And then in the evening, you might, before you got a lot of resident local anglers that could turn up after work, 5, 6 o'clock, just because it was open till 10:30. So you had 2 or 3 guys possible each night that would turn up to fish the night. So I could be sitting in my swim, seeing quite a few fish showing down in the bay or something, and I'm like, I've got to move because I know people are turning up. I've got to move. So I'd have to pack all my gear down, get around the lake, and it was hard work, especially if you're trying to string a couple of days together. I used to just go and sleep in a lay-by somewhere. There's nowhere to sleep. For a few times we slept over Darrant on their veranda outside their clubhouse and then drove back in the morning. Other times I've been over there on my own in the winter, just in a little lay-by, like, you know, and it weren't really nice at all. Then we found, like, we used to call it a little, I remember Neil and Jay found a little place, a little lair, we called it. It was just, I can't remember where, around Darrant somewhere, there's a little track leading off into a little bit of woodland. And they told me where it was. I'd never been there, but I knew where it was. And they were stringing a couple of days together. So they sneaked in at night after fishing a day and sort of got their food and drink and went and slept in this little wood, like, you know. So that was, well, I've got to go and do something, and I've got to go and spook them out. So, you know, I knew that they'd be up about 3 to get ready to go back to the lake. So I'd go over there about 2, half 2 in the morning and just start scaring them and stuff like that.
What
you know,
do?
I found out where they were, and I just you can imagine how tired they are. They've been up since God knows what time the day before to get to the lake. Then fish all day with no sleep because you're running around the lake like headless chickens trying to get on them, and then going back to the little lair to go and camp out for the night in your car. When I crept up on them, they're leaning against the side of the windows, dribbling and all that, like, you know, absolutely shattered. And one of my kids had some sort of alien thing that had batteries in it, and when he switched it on, all these lights come on its antennas and all that, and made all these weird noises. I remember I just crept round the side of the car. My mate Neil's leaning against the window, and I just put it up against the windscreen. He went, just staring at it like that, sort of started the car up, like, you know. I said, I'm always pranking people, like, you know. I love all that.
That's bad if you shattered, though, isn't it?
Yeah, mate, they didn't know where they was. I mean, one night I pulled into a lay-by just on, I don't know what Roman Villa Road or something like they call it. It's like a little road up high. In my mind, I thought it was quite a big lay-by, but when I looked at it years gone by, it's only a little bit of the side of the road, basically.
Right.
And I remember I said, go and get, this was in the winter, I said, go out to town, 10:30, you're reeling in. By the time you get in your car, all packed away, it's 11. I had enough time to just quickly get out of town, get a takeaway from somewhere and get some milk and supplies from the garage. And then I'd go to wherever I was going to crash for the night. You're shattered because you didn't really get much time. No. And I remember I said, wind my car seat down, have a pillar in the back, put a pillar there and get a quilt. And so sit on the quilt and pull it over me and just lay back. And you went out like a light, listened to the radio for a little while. I remember I was so tired one night. I was absolutely shattered. And every now and then a car go past and the beam would sort of in your sleep, sort of wake you up sort of thing. And one night, whether I was awake or whether I was actually asleep, I've seen the car headlights come up and they pulled into where I'm sleeping, like, you know. Yeah. So in my sleep, or whether I can't remember if I was awake or, you know, I was trying to sort of lift my head up and wake up because I know someone's there. And in my dream or in my subconscious, as someone's got out of the car, come round and banged on the side of my window. And I'm like, you know, so tired, trying to open my eyes and wake up. And eventually I went like that and there was no one there. I was like, just started up and drove off. Like, you know, I don't know what was going on. I was probably just
freaking out.
I'm so tired. Like you'd spend sort of 2 or 3. We used to do 2 to 3 days some days and string it together just so you can try and get back in the same swim and get something going. It was the only way I found over there to really get on them was to eventually, once I learnt about the place, was to keep some bait going in and try and get in the same swim, which is hard because if you're doing a draw each day, some days it might not be no one turn up, so you just went in and got back in the same swim again, like, you know. It was and a hard thing to do, especially in the winter, was to stay on. You know, we had to be off at 10:30 in the winter, and it's freezing, like, you know.
Yeah.
And I remember once being there. I was the only one on the lake. I think there was no one on the lake the day before. And I remember thinking, I'm staying all night. Sod it. I'm just going to stay all night. You're not allowed, but I thought, I'm going to stay all night. I'm so tired. And I remember 10 o'clock at night, I'm all snugged up in my sleeping bag. And I thought,
nice.
Then you start thinking, what if someone turns up at 4 a.m. and I'm already here in my bag? I'm going to be in trouble here, like, you know. I'm not one for breaking rules, but I was absolutely shattered. And in my head, I'm staying all night. I got to about 29 minutes past 10:30. I went, right, that's it, let's go. Packed up, I lost my bottle and went. But I wish I could have stayed up. And it was weird because I went away when I slept in the car somewhere, come back at 4 o'clock, there was no one else there. Went back in the same swim, set back all my gear, got back in my sleeping bag, thought I could have been here all night, like, you know.
What was the fish activity like that half an hour? Was it a case of small water day session? As soon as the sort of time for anglers curbs, they start getting active again. Was it one of those or not?
It was first. Do you know what I used to look for when I walked in the lake? I'd look for where all the froth was, where they've been jumping.
The night, yeah,
because you walk on the lake, it's quite sheltered there, so it'd generally be fairly calm when you walked on in the morning. You look up the top corner where the trees swim is and froth everywhere. I go, that's them, that's where they are. So I would generally sort of start off there because the fish were there in the night. They may still be there. It's all I had to go on unless I'm seeing them and hearing them. And you didn't really want to keep walking, you know, like you walk around and find them. And then while you're walking around looking for them, a few people turn up and you lose a swim. It was pretty like that, you know. So you have to sort of try and get established where you're going to go pretty quick. And it was very, very... I think you had a chance early morning of a bite from when you get on at 4 a.m. By the time you get your rods out at 5, I used to be so tired. I used to always think I'm going to sleep as soon as I get there, get them out, going to sleep. I never did. What's that? You're always looking. Really, I was really alert and really on it, like, you know, and worked very hard. And then, like I say, moved 2 or 3 times a day. And it was funny. I had my first UK 40 from there.
Wow.
But before this, we was getting a bit. There was a few fish in there. There was a funny one called Eric, Crazy Eric, we used to call it. It was like a cut and shut. Had a great big head and shoulders, and a funny little tail that dropped down. It was a bit looked like a disabled carp, so to speak, like, you know.
Right.
Yeah, we just called it Crazy Eric.
Crazy Eric.
Yeah, so that was my first fish out there, like a mid-20. I didn't care. I was chuffed to bits, like, you know. My mate's first fish out there, Jay. I think we all caught it as our first fish.
Friendly then, Crazy Eric.
Yeah, to us. And then the regulars over there are going, yeah, you boys are welcome to them ones. You can have them, little, you know, pests and that. You can have them. You can catch them, you Essex boys. You sure you're right over here? You don't want to go back over the bridge, like, you know, somewhere a bit easier. And then there was another one in there called the Delinquent.
What names these are, mate?
I didn't catch that, but Jay did. I think I might have caught it once, and Jay caught it. And a proper nutty fish. I was in a swim once, this little point swim, and behind me there was this overhanging snag, and I remember the Delinquent jumped out, knocked itself out. It was just laying on its back, and then it sort of righted itself and swam off. And then another time I was fishing in, I think they called it the Chicken Bay or something, or whatever something like that. It was just swimming around on the surface upside down with its pecs like that, on its back, going round and round and round. Then all of a sudden it had just thrash about and upright itself and swim off. But the Delinquent was very good at telling you where the carp were because it's always jumping out of the lake. That's why we called it. It's just crazy carp. So that would be jumping out of the lake, and with it was 4 or 5 other fish. So if you saw that jumping, you think you want to get out that bay, the Delinquent's jumping, the others will be there. So anyway, Jay caught the Delinquent. I don't know whether my other mates caught it. And then there was a common in there, my first good one out there. Funny enough, the first time I met Terry Hearn, he'd got a ticket. And I'm fishing in the corner of the lake, the P swim, I think they call it. And it's like the end of the lake, there's a little pipe swim, and the canopy is all this willow and that. And I was fishing around. It's really weird because we was on a proper old sort of oldie worldy little lake. Like I changed my tackle from, I had my, do you know what? I think there were Free Spirit rods or something back then. I can't remember, but I changed them. Someone gave me some KM1s, 2 1/4 or something like that. So I had KM1s and a pair of Cardinal 57s on. Cardinal, it's a Cardinal reel, not the Cardinal 57. It was a C4s or something like that, Cardinal C4s. Proper old little Cardinals. Why I was using them, I don't know. I just thought I was really going to be old school on here.
Yeah, going old school, boys.
Yeah. And I met Terry. He was fishing a couple of swims down from me. And then in the evening, I've had a take. So I'm playing this carp, and obviously it's run me ragged because these rods are like bloody bamboo sticks, like, bent round to the butt. And it's trying to get me under this canopy and all that, and Tell's there with a net. And eventually, after a big struggle with this tackle I was using, Tell landed it for me. He went, "Oh, well done, mate. Looks like a 30 common." Turned out to be a fish called Jackson's. I think it's still in there. They called it Lee Jackson after Lee Jackson, and I don't mean this in any Lee knows that the fish had a ball patch on its side.
Brutal.
So they called it Jackson's, right? Anyway, I think it's one of, if it's still there, it's definitely one of the big ones in there. So I've had that. It's my first 30 out of Sutton. Absolutely made up with that. And then I still got the banter off of the locals. Yeah, you're welcome to Jackson's and Eric and so on, like, And but we were catching them. This is the thing. No matter what ones we were catching, and slowly but surely we started getting amongst the better ones. And then I cluster at 35, I think. My mate Craig had Searcher at 34, and we was catching them. I think I caught cluster again that year, and I think I finished the season really, really putting a lot of time in for about 6 fish. And then the following year, it was the start of the season. They'd done a big draw, and it was quite traditional. Do you know what? I'm trying to remember. I think the season finished over there on the 30th of March, and maybe it started on the 1st of June. I can't remember the CMEX dates back then, but it was kind of like that. And Jay, one of the top swims on there, especially at the start of the season, a swim called the High Point, just a big plateau, like, And because I think when I caught, what was that, the second time I caught cluster about 3 times. I'll tell you about that in a sec. So we're doing the draw. I wasn't fishing because I was actually doing some film work. I just got into my film work. So I weren't fishing, but Jay was, and he come out first. And he made me laugh because there's a map of the lake and he's scanning the lake. Where does he want to go? And I went, you know where you want to go, you nutcase. Get in the High Point, which he did. And there was another big mirror in there at the time called Little Gertie. You had Hardtail Gertie and Little Gertie.
Right.
His session, mate, I think I don't know how many he had, but he was really doing well. He had 2 or 3 little ones, I think, and then he's bagged Little Gertie at 37, 38, something like that, which is one of the cheeses of the lake. And my mate Phil Emmanuel was on the other bank, and I rung Phil up and I said, I've heard Jay's had Little Gertie and he's had a couple of others. He went, he's in there. I said, he's got one. He went, yeah, he's got one on. So a little late, I think I stayed on the phone and he kind of commentated what was going on. And I heard Jay shout out something, and I said, what's he got? He said, he's got the big fully, like the fully scaled. I think he had that. I think he had one at 38, 39, another one at 38, and he may have had another one, but I can't remember. But he had an absolute amazing start. So now we weren't like the boys from Essex that couldn't catch. We was getting in amongst the good fish. And that's how it progressed. And I think I couldn't get down. And I was using DT bait at the time, with fish and blood mix or something with oily chicken flavour,
right? Which
really was nice, really oily, chickeny smell. And I just had something about that bait that was going to be good. And I ended up fishing in a swim called the Chicken, funny enough, and didn't have nothing. I thought that was a coincidence I was going to catch. And that's where the delinquent was jumping out at that time. And this is the second season, I think. Trying to work it all out. And anyway, I ended up moving into a swim called, I think it was called Gertie's. I might be wrong. Really tired, done a couple of nights on the chart, absolutely shattered. And I remember laying on my bed chair asleep, a lovely wind blowing down, and I woke up and see a little fish roll, little common or something, and I thought, I'll end up catching that, I know I will. And a little while later, next thing I know, I'm up with a bent rod playing a carp. I think my mate's come round, he's next door. He went, I said, it's only a small one. I said, I'll see it roll, like, So I'm playing it for a while. And then I thought, this ain't that small. Big vortex is coming up. And then it goes, Hardtail Gertie, like the king of the lake, basically.
You joking?
Yeah. My first UK 40. So, when was I over there? Do you know what?
You didn't
the years have gone so quick. It's a long while ago. I'll find out the exact date, but that's my first UK thought. It has to be. Jay's really good with dates. I'll ask him the dates and he will know straight away. But has to be over 20-something years ago.
That's mad,
25 years, 20, maybe 23, 24 years ago, something like that.
What rig and stuff were you using at the time?
I can remember exactly what I was using over there. I used to use quite a lot lead core, inline lead, little sort of supple hook link, and over there long hairs and double bottom baits with little hooks. We used to use do you remember the Camisam B175s?
Yeah, the fly hooks.
Well, there was one called a Stinger made by.
Was that more round? Yeah, it was more.
It's very much the same. I thought they were a little bit stronger. There was a guy had a tackle company, Terminal Tackle. Was it Big Fish Adventure?
Right.
Do you remember them? Big Fish Adventure?
No.
I'm sure they're called Big Fish Adventure, and they made a hook very similar to the B175, if not identical, but stronger, or it seemed like it was stronger.
Right.
Little intern eye. B175 lookalike called the Stinger. And I used to use them probably in a size 8 with a long hair, double bottom baits, and just pulp bait, and maybe a stringer, just pulp a few baits about. And that was the rig. And I ended up catching all my fish out of there on that, done really well over there. And the only one I didn't get in the end that I really wanted was a big fully. Come close to it. I was fishing one night in the entrance to this bay, and I had a feeling that it would turn up. Don't know why. I had a savage liner. I remember I was fishing a nut, and I remember having a savage liner. The line pulled right up to the top. I thought I was away. It dropped back down again. And then there was, I never see him, but a guy, it was only a little way down, a guy turned up fishing near the pads. And next thing, I see all these waves coming down. He's giving me a shout. Can you come do some photos for me? I got the big fully. So it definitely come through me, give me a liner. But I ended up catching the big common out there, just under 38, 40, 39, something like that. Blind eye. The one that I really wanted to finish it off over there, to pull off really, was blind eye. And it's a funny story. I was doing some film work on Band of Brothers, and we had a lot of downtime on that in between being on set. And we were always fighting, mucking around. I was only young, 30 odd, mucking around fighting. And I jumped my mate, but headbutted his rifle tip. And the foresight gave me a cut across here. Ooh. So they cleaned it up, put a couple of butterfly stitches on it, and said, you can't wear no makeup, dirt and stuff on your face, so you might as well have the afternoon off. So I thought, I know where I'm going. I'm going to Sutton. And I'm going to Sutton to catch blind eye. That was in my head. Blind eye, nearly blind eye, right? So,
right, you like a link, didn't you?
Yeah, this is
chicken
the link.
And chicken.
So I got the blind eye nearly, because if it had hit me in the eye, it would have probably blind me. I'm driving to Sutton to catch blind eye. I remember turning up, walked around the lake, and the wind, I think it was October time, it was the first sort of little bit of a colder wind coming in, blowing on the opposite bank. And one of my mates went to me, a few fish are shown next door, and it's a good area I'm just trying to get the general what's going on. And as I'm looking, I see one roll on the opposite bank. So I thought, no, I know where I'm going. So I went round there with my tackle. I think it was a swim called the Wide or something like that. Anyway, I remember sitting there, got my rods in close, because it might be the swim called the close in actually. You generally fish close in off the trees, because it's only a little lake, so they're under your feet a lot of the time. And I remember fishing close in, and the wind was blowing into my face, and I was sitting there, just hands on my chin, just looking out, and I've seen blind eye come out literally to the wrist and just drop back down. I can still remember it being really sort of pink in colour, where it probably been a bit of robin red and stuff And I just that was blind eye, So I reeled my rods in from the margins, double bottom bait, 4 bait stringers, out to where I see it go. And funny enough, it's not really a long swim, can't really fish out that far, but there was someone fishing in the tree swim further down that was only fishing close. I think I went and asked them, they went, no, you can go a bit further. So I went out to where I see blind eye. A mate of mine, Kodak, Mark Dean, was fishing the swim next door, and all I could hear was him getting liners all day, where he was fishing close in.
Yeah.
And he's going to me, they're right in close. He said, you should bring your rods back. I went, no, I'm sticking to my guns. I've seen what I've seen. I'm staying to where I've seen what I've seen, Anyway, I remember a couple of times I went running down to his swim, because I could hear his rods going all the time, and it was just liners. And I thought maybe I should bring them back. Anyway, 10 o'clock I didn't. And one of the rods went and it was blind eye. And I don't know what weight, over 40. And yeah, so both the big ones, in my opinion, out of there, that were 40 pound, I'd caught. The big common I'd caught. I had the up front common, the unknown, another real cracking carp. I caught most of the ones I wanted out of there. I would have liked to have caught maybe the beast and the big fully, and I would have been made up. But you can't always get them all. And it was just time to move on,
It sounds like you've done well on there, regardless.
Had a really good time,
yeah.
really good time. In the end, we were the boys over there, me and my little gang.
I was going to say.
We started off as the, the little
whippersnappers.
Yeah.
And then you were the boys.
Novices and that. But then you learned, didn't you? And we were putting the effort in. We were driving down there. You think, right, if I had to go for the start over for the draw, I'd have to leave my house at 1 o'clock in the morning. No, 2 o'clock in the morning. So I'll be up at 1, leave at 2, get there for 3. Have a little walk around the car park for half hour and then do the draw. And then if you're doing the next night and the next, you're not sleeping, unless you're sleeping on the bank.
It's a killer. That's burnout, isn't
it? You didn't sleep on the bank much because you was watching all the time.
Yeah. You referenced there, mate. You said filming, and I know it's a part of your life that most people maybe might know, but they might not also. You have had some life with regards to the military stuff, fishing, big carp fishing, career in fishing, the house you live in, the lakes, but, mate, Hollywood in there. And you don't marry up carp fishing with Hollywood. You have to, haven't you? We're not talking like going and doing a bit of EastEnders, mate. You've been in like Saving Private Ryan. You've been in some incredible productions.
It's crazy. I know, like, whenever I've done any of these chats, I've spoke about this. I mean, I'm very proud of it. A lot of people want to know, and sometimes I feel like I've overcooked it, but if people want to know, I'll talk about it because I enjoyed myself, had a fantastic time, and it was like 5 years of my life that I'll never change and never want to change, and it nearly did lead to so many good things. It did lead to good things, but it could have even been better. I mean,
how'd you get that? Because obviously you've had your military career, haven't you? You've come out, you're back to fishing, you're doing a bit. How do you then go from being in that position, coming out of the military, to then going into getting involved in that type?
Well, I was at the time I was I was a manager of a health club, and one of the guys that was one of my trainers, like one of my coaches that worked for us in the health club, he'd done a lot of adverts and stuff like that. And I just remember saying to him, like, how'd you get involved in all that? I'm looking to do something, I want to do something else. And he said, I belong to an agency. And he said, and they just send you on like interviews or what do you call it? Castings.
Casting,
for certain things. And he said, and I worked my way up, and he was more or less becoming an actor because he started off as an extra. It was an extra agency, but they did have little talking things. And it's just a way of getting on the ladder, And he said to me, but they do a lot of military stuff. He said, so maybe give them a shout. And he gave me the name and the number. So I rang them up, and I think it was in the middle of summer, and they went, no, we've got nothing on. No, our books are closed, but they are opening up later in the year in October. Why don't you ring us back then? I went, yeah, no problem at all, And they said, you haven't got any military experience, have you, by the way? And I went, yeah, I have actually, got a little bit. They went, oh, we've got a project coming up. She said, this was like getting towards the end of the week. She said, we've got a project coming up. She said, if I don't ring you back Friday, I'll ring you back Monday and we'll get you in for an interview. I went, brilliant. So put the phone down. I was like, yes, I'm going on this interview. And I thought it was just me. I've got an interview to do something in the film industry. And didn't hear from them Friday. And I thought, they forgot. Yeah. They forgot. That was short-lived, That's the end of that. And I think Monday morning, or Monday sometime, I got a phone call from the agency. Would you be able to go to the OTC Centre, which is the Officer Training Centre in Cannon Street, for midday on whatever date it was? And I went, yeah, no probs, I said, I'll be there, thinking it's just me again. So I'm now telling everyone that I'm going for this, buzzing, I'm going for a job interview for a film and all that. I didn't have a clue what to expect or what was going on, And I turned up, and there was a massive queue of people all outside this building, which was the Officer Training Centre. It had two great big wooden doors, from what I can remember. everyone was talking about all the film jobs they'd been on amongst, I've been on this and done the Bill and London's Burning, and I'm out of my depth here. I'm thinking I'm well out of my depth, like, you know. Anyway, the doors opened at midday and about 80 odd people come out. And I thought, what is going on here?
80 odd people came out?
Yeah, they'd been in the first sitting, like, you know.
Mate.
So when we went in, there was all these big wooden tables that seated about a dozen people random. It was like bits of paper and a pencil. And then there was loads of them. I don't know how many of us there were, probably 100 of us. So we've gone in and we're all sat down. And this some representative from the agency's got up and started chatting. They said, right, whilst you're filling in, we had to fill in this form and fill in this thing. Whilst you're filling in the paperwork in front of you, if anyone looks suitable for what we're looking for, and you get a tap on your shoulder to go and join that queue over there.
A tap on the shoulder?
Yeah, that's how it was.
Right.
And I'm sitting there, don't know why, I felt quite confident. Don't know why, I'd been really training hard. I felt like I was in good shape. Not that it mattered, but I felt confident, you know?
Yeah.
Next thing, and I get a tap on the shoulder and the whole table like glare at me, like, you know, I'm like, oh, like, you know, and anyway, I had to go and join this queue and stood outside this room was a guy in army uniform and he kept shouting out in some American accent, next soldier, like that. And they were marching in. I thought, what is going on here? Like, you know, anyway, I'm in the queue to go in. I don't know what's going on. I ain't got a clue. Little did I know, the guy that was in the room was a guy called Dowdye, a captain, Captain Dowdye. He was in the American Marines.
Right.
Absolute warlord. He's Steven Spielberg's military advisor. I never knew at the time.
Oh.
And he's done loads and loads. He's an actor himself. He's done so many films like Hamburger Hill and Full Metal Jacket. He would have been involved in all of that. And proper off-the-scale lunatic, like, you know.
Yeah.
Proper... always in full uniform, and if you ever went out somewhere, he's got all his medals on. He's proper proud and proper went to Vietnam, proper mental case. Anyway, stood with him was a guy that was representing the agency because he's American, and they had this guy that was his name was Robin. He was representing the agency. So when people went in, if there was anything the captain didn't understand, this guy, Robin, could tell him, like, you know. It turns out, I never knew, but he was a major. This Robin was a major in the same regiment as me. I found out later.
What?
His name, yeah. So he was a major attached to the same regiment as me when I was out in Northern Ireland. I never knew him. He was just attached to us.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's called my name out and I've had to march in. Like, I'm not even in the army no more. So I've, like, marched in, come to attention, name, rank, number. So 2459, you know, tell him my rank, number and everything. And he's like asking me all these questions. And if he never understood something, this Robin was telling him, like, you know. And he's like, tell me a bit about your military career, Hammond, like that. And I'm like, bloody hell. I joined when I was 16, done boy service, done this, done that, telling him all about it. I said I was in a thing called Cop Platoon, Cop Platoon's quite a good part to it. It's a good platoon within a regiment or within our battalion to be involved in. It's a thing called COP, Close Observation Platoon.
Okay. When
you get to Northern Ireland, you do a lot of undercover stuff, and it's you're the elite of the out of 600 blokes, there's 30 in COP, and we would be the elite out of our 600 blokes. I had to go on selection for it, like a miniature SAS selection and all, and all that. So I'm telling him, he don't know what Cop Platoon is. So Robin knew, because he was attached to my battalion, and he's telling him. And he went, and he was like right impressed with all that. And then he said, and then what else? And I went, well, sir, I said, towards the end of my army career, I said, whilst we were serving in the warmer climates, I was a physical training instructor. He went, tell me, Hammond, he said, was you a mean son of a gun? That's what he said to me. I went, I was, sir. I said, he went, you're a good soldier. He said, I want you in my movie. He was going bonkers, like, you know.
Off his nuts.
Just totally went over my head. I didn't know what to expect. You're a mean son of a gun. He was just going mad.
Mate.
Anyway, cut a long story short, he put me down on his list and I was told to come out of there, go to this department and get measured up for a uniform. And then a week later, I had to go for a fitting and I was to be one of the German SS in Saving Private Ryan. And that was my little job.
That's
and I was
mental.
like, I couldn't believe it. And they were filming in Hatfield, which is only 25 minutes down the road from where I lived at the time. And I went for this fitting, found out a lot more about this Robin guy. He works for the agency. they were 60 German soldiers that were going to be the upfront Germans in the Battle of Rommel, if you've seen it, in big battle at the end. And they split it into 2 platoons of 30, and they made me in charge of one of the platoons of 30. I was like a German Hupperstoffführer or something, like a German sergeant major in the SS, that's right. And during the film, it was brilliant. I mean, Hanks was there, and mate, the actual main battle at the end of that was just to be involved within itself. I would have done it for nothing. It was just absolutely incredible. I mean, they had 2 or 3 streets that looked like real streets. And when you got to the end, there was a big bridge where Tom Hanks got shot at the end. And it just looked so real. And in each building, they had some sort of gas system in there that they could light, so that there's all flames coming out of all the windows. Then they burnt loads of black rubber around the back of the building, so they had and they were getting ready for this final scene, you know, like when all the Das Reich come to the bridge and they're fighting against, you know, and then they had, what saved them really was the 2 Mustang aeroplanes that came in. Well, they had 2 Mustang aeroplanes on call waiting, and when they got to a certain distance away, action was called. And then we started manoeuvring forward with all I had tanks going past me, stuntmen getting blown up in flames, and there was all these squibs and bombs everywhere going off and smoke coming out. I swear to God, it's like being in a real close.
It's not like green screen, then, is it? This is all happening. Man.
It was close to a real battle. And what happened was Spielberg would give his commands, and he had the first assistant director. He would shout out his commands. And Dal Dye, the military advisor, would scream at us. And when they were getting this last scene, all 3 streets were amalgamating into the big battle at the end. We were so rushed for time. I think Robin said to me, Jerry, you got to get all your lads out now and put them in positions. We ain't got time, like, you know. And I was literally do a tiny little bit of choreographing for that scene, because I'll be putting people in a gun nest and people here and people there and just putting them all in their positions. Yeah. And we had like, I had a Schmeiser, like proper authentic Schmeiser, loads of magazines with all blank rounds, like, we were just gunned up for a war, like, you know. I mean, when we done one rehearsal, they couldn't stop us. We carried on. We steamed the bridge and everything. And that weren't even in the script. And he's going, cut. And we're like, I ain't cutting. We're going to win, like, you know. We thought it was real. Anyway, like, when we done the actual main shoot, when we done the actual scene, it was just ridiculous. I mean, if you watch it on TV, you watch it on the film, and mate, all the tanks are going by, and like Tiger tanks, and it was hot in the summer. There was bombs, like the special effects guys are buried, sort of detonating bombs all over the place, like special effects. The heat from the flames and the smoke and all the machine guns going off, and then 2 Mustangs come over. Yeah. It felt like they were just clipping my hair as they went past, and the shaking of the ground when they went over, and that, it was just phenomenal. Really, really phenomenal. And it was like,
seen it at the cinema, mate. It's an epic scene, isn't it?
I went to the, what do you call it? Red carpet premiere, mate. I did, yeah. We're all proud, mate. I hadn't seen it, and I'm telling everyone I'm in it everywhere, because you think you are. Yeah. But you ain't. You're just running past in the smoke, like, you know, here I am. Like, and they're, well, good to see you.
You're still in the credits, though, aren't you, mate?
Yeah, all my mates go, I thought you was in Saving Private Ryan. I go, well, I bloody was, like, you know. But I did manage to get a good little scene. If you look at the end of Saving, I've got some good photos of it as it goes. The guy that shot Tom Hanks gets captured at the end of the scene by Jeremy Davison.
Yes.
He's an actor, the one who done the typewriting.
Yeah.
And he points a gun at him and said, hands up, like, I'm stood next to him, my hands up like that.
Oh, I need to watch it again,
And Spielberg was like, you know, talking to us, what's your name? Like, Jerry, I want you there, Jerry, blah, blah, blah. I was directed by Spielberg, got extra money for that, it's pretty good.
Corner boy.
And so there was like 3 or 4 of us, and then he shoots this guy called Steamboat Willie, I think his name is in it. He shoots him, and then tells us to go, and we all just run off down the street like that. You know,
I'm going to watch it again, mate, just for more Hammond.
Well, that was my claim after that. I just thought, and I'd done so well working with that agency, and I weren't even with them. And then when they opened their books out, I was on the front cover of their books, like, you know, and they took me on, and from there onwards, I joined 2 or 3 other agencies, got my equity card.
What's an equity card?
It's like your acting
license.
Yeah, it's just like all actors have their equity card. It's like and you belong to equity then. You belong to the the organisation of Equity, like, you know, which does loads of different things within the industry.
What did you do? What else did you do? You did a fair bit, didn't you?
Yeah, I've done Gladiator. I nearly did. I swear, I nearly got in the arena fighting with Russell Crowe and that.
What was he like?
He was all right. I didn't speak to him a lot, to be honest. He was all right. Yeah, he was the man. Like, you know, he rode around on his horse while we're filming. He didn't really get, "Hi, Russ, come over here, mate, and have a chat." He weren't really a bit above us.
He smashed that part, didn't he?
Brilliant. They're making a new one, another Gladiator. Yeah.
They called you up?
Nah, mate. I'm too old now.
Nah, mate, you're in good nick.
Nah, I'm too old,
Job
mate.
Done.
Well, we knew they was making a Roman film, and I went on an audition at Shepperton Studios in a building called the David Lean Building, and I never knew what it was for, but I knew it was for a Roman film. And me and this guy, funny enough, there was this big, muscly, coloured lad, really in good shape. Turns out it's Wesley Snipes standing. Done a lot of work with Wesley Snipes.
Jeez.
And I thought me and him would look really good, like, because we had to do fight scenes. They gave us a wooden shield and a wooden sword each. And we just learned. We had an American stunt coordinator there with a camera, like these cameras. And he was filming us. They taught us 2 fight scenes. We had to learn them back to back. And then at the end of the day, they filmed us. And then if we were any good, I asked this guy, he knew what was going on. He knew more than I did. And it was 5 weeks in Morocco and 6 or 7 in Malta doing all the arena scenes with Russell Crowe in the arena, fighting as a gladiator. And we done really well. Put a lot of effort into the audition, real lot of effort. We were dripping wet, rolling, really putting the effort in, really going for it, like, you know. At the end of it, they've been auditioning for 3 weeks apparently, and at the end I spoke to the American stunt guy and said, "How did we do?" He went, "Well, you and your mate there, the best we've had in 3 weeks." I went, "No way, brilliant." And I said to the mate, he shook his hand, I said, "I'll see you in Malta," and all that. And then right at the last knockings, there was some pay dispute, something to do with Equity, and for some reason or other they took a load of American stunt guys instead, and I didn't get to do that. Although I was in Gladiator, I was at the right at the front in the battle against the Huns at the very beginning. But you wouldn't, it's hard to see me because we've all got the winter, they was fighting in the winter, the Romans. We've got rabbit furs around our heads and scarves on, you know. But I was right up with the stunt guys in the front doing the big battle scene against the Huns. And I worked on that, I don't know how long, for a while. And that was really good. Got some good photos on that. Yeah, done that. And then got called up for an audition. Yet again, my old mate, Captain Dale Dye.
Oh, mate.
Another audition with him. Yeah, mate. Another audition with him. And I got a year on Band of Brothers. Done a whole year on that.
Brothers, yeah.
And all the time this is going on, I'm fishing. I'm fishing toll pits at the time. I'd moved on from Sutton to toll pits. That's why I couldn't go full blast on toll pits, but I should just do bits and pieces like over there. And,
what's that world like? Because that is like, again, it's like you look at it, you see it through a camera, and like you can't, like the people like Tom Hanks, people like that, like you don't knock around with those people
honestly,
day to day, mate.
No,
but you
mate.
have.
When we done Band of Brothers, I was on it for 10 months, a year, and you had the main cast. Say there's 20 main actors.
Yeah,
they had 20 of us. We were mingled in with the actors every day. It kind of made the actors look more realistic because they learnt off of us, like, you know.
Yeah.
We were away on a 10-day boot camp with all the actors. I was in the same room as David Schwimmer.
You're joking?
Yeah, we got on these coaches. We went to, I think it was Aldershot somewhere, and we stayed in a proper army camp. Like, we had it placed to ourselves. Once we arrived in the parade ground, all our phones went. We had no phones. We weren't allowed to use a phone. We went back to 1940s.
Yeah.
We were all the authentic 1940s easy company. We were like the Airborne, we're all their kit. And we went out learning their foot drill, marching. We done everything they done. Even went to Neverhaven and learnt all the parachuting side of it, everything. And I had Donnie Wahlberg in. It was in dormitories, like old school. I had David Schwimmer at the end there telling jokes all night. Donnie Wahlberg opposite, and
that must be surreal, mate.
It was, and we done the Band of Brothers like that. That was really, really good to do. Absolutely amazing. And because we were mixed in with the main cast, we weren't extras. We were what they call SAs, special abilities, and we were used for a lot of the scenes that were, you know, we had to look real, authentic, and we did. I think we looked really good in it. And we had loads of little. I might be sitting with 3 other actors and they're chatting, because it's hard to do an American accent. You try and do. They might say to you, "You can talk in this, but you've got to have an upstate New York accent or the Bronx." Or I'm like, I'd rather just nod my head, like, you know. I had a few words here and there, and did get offered some good little parts. One of the parts I was offered was a dying scene, getting like shot in the chest and being carried out on a stretcher, calling for your mum and all that. But I turned it down because I was worried that I'd get thrown off the job after that. I wanted to stay on it.
Yeah,
I wanted to stay on it. Little did I know they would have kept me on there, but not in the forefront. I would have just been doing the same work, but just in the background a little bit. And then right towards the end of it, we went out. This was good. We went out to Switzerland. And it was going to film Berchtesgaden, like Hitler's Nest up in the mountains and all that. And I really, really wanted to go. And we'd been working flat out, weekends, night shoots, you name it, absolutely buzzing. It's brilliant. Such a great time. And so we was doing that, and there was only 10 people that were going to get picked to go. And that was one of the reasons I didn't want to get shot or killed either, because I wanted to go to Switzerland. And they gave us a week's. We hadn't had no holiday, so they called it a hiatus, I think, or something. They gave us a week's holiday, and I went to Greece with my missus, and had a lovely time out in Greece. I think I got home on the Sunday, repacked my case for Monday morning. A chauffeur come and picked me up and drove me to Stansted, and about 20 of us got on a private jet and flew to Switzerland.
All right, isn't it?
And I thought, yep.
I've done all right here, boys.
I'm here. Like, I've done it. And when we got to Switzerland, the first scenes we were doing was a game of baseball at the end of the war with all the mountains around us. We was in Switzerland, a place called, I'll think of it in a minute, Interlaken, which means in between the lakes. The lakes were like blue, absolutely beautiful. Anyway, we were given our own driver, us lads, and took a little way off, and we had our own beautiful hotel. And I just thought I'd cracked it. I bought a bottle of Remy on my way out there. And when we got there, because our first scenes were in like playing baseball on this old airfield, like, you know, supposed to be like the end of the war. They took us in for this amazing meal, because like there was no stops. It was just everything was full on. Like all the food was flipping amazing. They gave us like the equivalent of about £1,000 spending money for the 10 days we were there. What? Didn't touch no wages. And I remember getting driven to our hotel, had a lovely room. I sat in my room looking out the window, watching like waterfalls and people paragliding and all that, drinking a glass of Remy, 1,000 Swiss francs sitting there. I thought, I've cracked it. I've absolutely cracked it. I'm here now. I'm here, like, you know.
Boys, mate.
And it was crazy because we didn't really do a lot. They didn't need us for much while we were out there. So me and my mates, because it was summertime out, like September out there, it was beautiful weather. We were going up all the mountains like Chiltern and all the famous mountains where they done James Bond with a rotating cafeteria, and a couple of us went free fall parachuting. I jumped off this cliff with attached to some girl paragliding, and because all the people that were driving all the actors about, their winter jobs were skiing instructors and snowboarding instructors. Come the summer, they do parachuting, paragliding and all that. But a few of them took jobs on the film set, driving people about and all that. And we said, we've got a day off tomorrow. Well, we're going free fall if you want to come. Oh, yeah, all right.
Perfect.
We was all doing that. Had an amazing time out there. Real amazing time. And then, come back from there, Band of Brothers. Quite sad when it all finished. Like,
how did that all finish then?
Well, no, when Band of Brothers finished, we'd been on it a year, and it come to the last filming. It was quite sad because I was with all these guys for such a long time, like, you know. Yeah. It was sad, but in a way, we wanted it to finish. I just wanted to go fishing and get my life back, like, you know.
Did you?
Well, yeah, I'd just been on it for a year, and it was like full on.
But surely you think that's going to kick on to
more?
Mate,
we had quite a lot of downtime on it in between filming, and we were starting to get in trouble and stuff like that.
What do you mean?
We all were. We was all fighting and mucking. It was bored.
Well, it's bored, yeah.
When you're sitting about.
Yeah.
And then, like, you just thought, can't wait for it to finish now and do something else, get on another project or whatever. And I did move on from there. I'd done I'd done Bloody Sunday with James Nesbitt as an actor.
Oh, mate.
Paid as an actor, and through that, I got an agent, my own agent, a sole agent down in Brighton called Cyber 2000. And that was the stepping stone of becoming an actor, full-blown actor. Yeah. Sending me on loads of auditions. The only thing I say is I wish when I come out the army I went drama school, because you think it's easy. You can act with a rifle and you can act being a soldier, but when you've got to act properly, it's really hard. I mean, I actually went for an audition once for an advert. I didn't know what the advert was for. And you go in a casting couch. They've got all the cameras set up, like big cameras, and a casting couch. People sitting there, director and all that. Stand on the cross, right, Jerry? Give us the name of your agent, your age, rattled off a few things so they can hear you talk. And they said, right, what we need you to do, it's a bit of an awkward one, we need you to cry.
Cry?
Like, cry? I thought, oh my God, what do you mean? Well, the scene that we want you to play is a crying scene. I was like, oh my
I've
God.
not got that in the locker, mate.
I thought, I can't do this. Anyway, I don't know how I'd done it. I kind of pinched my leg so hard, and pretended to be tearful. I didn't know what it was for. It was a bit funny. It turned out to be, it was an Elvis Presley compilation LP, and there was another woman that was there, and she was involved in the audition, and she was going to be the midwife, and she's handing me my newborn baby, and the song in the background was "Love Me Tender."
And you've got to cry.
So I had to cry, which was good.
Oh, mate, I'd have the hair, mate, for Elvis. Between you and me,
You'd
we
be
could have
all
done
right,
it,
mate.
mate. We could have done it.
Yeah.
I
ended up
mate.
having to do the scene, and they said, right, we're breaking for lunch. Then when we come back, we need absolute silence because Jerry's doing his crying scene. I was like, oh God, I really am worried about this.
Like, to be honest,
do you know what? I had a bit of luck because the makeup artist said, right, I'm going to put some glycerine, little teardrops on your eyes. Yeah. I went, put it in my eyes. She went, oh no, it'll sting. I mean, I don't care. She put the glycerine in my eyes. When I went out, all my eyes were red, and it just like I was bawling my eyes out. It worked perfectly.
Touch.
And then when the advert come on telly, I've tried to find it. I can't find it nowhere. It's full face, my face crying on the advert. And it really was quite good, like, and then it pans down to the midwife handing me the newborn baby, and,
That's mad, mate, isn't it?
Yeah.
What a life. What a chapter that is.
Well, I've done 5 years of that. Nearly, when they was making Band of Brothers, the captain had quite a lot of his staff from back in the States that were working there as instructors and blah, blah, blah. And one of them was an ex, I think he was a captain from the Marines. He had to go back on another project back in America. And I nearly got the chance to go because I was quite interested in the military advising stuff. And a few of my mates done it. 2 or 3 of my mates are still doing it to this day, and they've been all over the world.
Yeah.
One of them become, through doing this work, one of them become Tom Sizemore's PA for a while, personal assistant. God bless him, he's gone now, isn't he, Tom Sizemore?
Yeah.
But he worked with him. He was living out in Malibu just through doing this.
Mad, isn't it?
And I nearly got the chance to go and get involved in the military advising on Pearl Harbor.
No.
Yeah. I could have, they called him an XO, it was one of the ranks they get in their army. And I spoke to him and he was quite keen for me to sort of go. And I don't know what happened. I think I ended up wanted to stay on Band of Brothers, because
He did 2 of the best.
Well, you would have been over there
Ridiculous.
being paid a lot of money as a military advisor, living in, I don't know, Hawaii or something, I don't know, where they were filming. And then that would have just led on and on. I probably would have never come back. My family would have moved out there.
Carp fishing, Carthagena.
Carthagena?
I'm in Malibu, mate.
Yeah,
I'm going trevally fishing, catching some sharks, and then a marlin later.
It's funny, isn't it? How different doorways open and different things come about.
How did that all come to an end then? Because you're on a little. You're pretty.
I'll tell you, it all come to an end. I moved in Carthagena.
Really?
I had no time for none of that game, mate.
Well, you just gave it. You just went nah.
Yeah, it just stopped. I thought I'm never going to be a Tom Cruise, and I just thought.
No, you're better looking and taller than Tom Cruise, boy.
A lot better looking.
You did.
I think if I'd have done drama at school, it would have been a lot better. I should have got out of the army. I was only young, gone drama school for a couple of years. It just teaches you how to act properly, and then there's a lot more.
Of course.
It's no good. I mean, you can play a tough man, a gangster, and a soldier, but when you want to play, proper parts, it's hard.
Oh, mate, loads of people have made careers just playing a few things. You know what I mean? I'm not going to say who. Cause
no, there is a lot of people that have done well through just doing that. But yeah,
I think, mate, that's amazing to have that in your life. Do you know what I mean? What a highlight reel that is.
Like I say, I know a lot of people on these talks have heard all this, but. No, definitely. I don't never. Do you know what? I ain't really spoke about it for years, so talking about it now brings it all back, and it's.
Do you regret not doing acting lessons? Later in life, would you like now or
not
even
now? can't, not now. I could still go and get back involved. I know I could.
Yeah.
I've still got loads of contacts and I could go and get back involved in it, but I'm too happy being retired, mate.
I don't blame you, mate. Either way, but it's incredible.
I met so many people, mate. I met Christopher Lee, Alf Garnett, June Brown. I stood next to Robert Redford at the bar ordering a drink. Done loads of little talking bits, adverts. Met loads of proper, I met Tom Hanks, spoke to Tom Hanks.
What was he like? Good
really
lad.
nice guy.
Really?
Fantastic actor, isn't he?
Oh, he's ridiculous.
He's one of the best, isn't he?
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely fantastic. Well, he's got a new series coming out, and do you know what? The name of it's gone out of my head, but it's another Band of Brothers type series.
Is it?
It's being released soon, I think, on Apple TV.
Yeah.
And it's about, we've done the Pacific, like the Navy. They've done the Airborne. Now they're doing the Air Force.
Right.
And I can't remember off the top of my head what it's called, but that'd be good. I'll wait to see that.
Mate. That is
great
epic,
times.
mate.
Great times. And in amongst that time, I actually caught, what do you call it, out of Toll Pits, Plodder.
Plodder, yeah. How did you factor that in then? Because obviously this time you sort of on a job, come back. How did you sort of get on top? How do you stay in touch, mate?
Like after Sutton, after I caught blind eye, it was kind of like either stay on here or move on. And to be honest, Terry mentioned Toll Pits, and I knew he was going on there, and I just thought I want to catch it as well, right? And I went on there, and I didn't get a lot of time to fish it full blown. And I think what happened was I can't remember what I was doing, but it was the start of the season on there. Or no, it was June. They'd already had their start. And it was very quiet over there. And that's it. No, it was the start of the season. I'd seen some good carp in the river. And I'd been feeding them during the close season. I was going to go and fish for them on June the 16th. It turned out that the water went pea green in the river and I couldn't see them no more. And I went, I can't be bothered. You know what? I go Toll Pits, got a ticket. And I went over there and caught Plodder on that session, 43.
What, straight off the bat?
Yeah. I mean, I'd fished it a few times, but not
just on that session.
Yeah, because like I should have gone on the river, but didn't. Went over there. I remember there being a nice breeze blowing up the top narrow end, and I went round there and that's it. There was a little ledge. It was quite hard to get a cast on, but I managed to get a bait on it, and I had a savage liner that dragged my rig off the ledge. I managed to get it back out there and had Plodder. And I see it show. It showed over my spot. Yeah, mega carp. And that weren't the one. It was Leicester's that they all knew about at the time, but Plodder was the second in command. But to be honest, Plodder ended up getting bigger than Leicester's, I think.
Yeah.
More desirable.
Yeah,
everyone wanted to catch Plodder. So I didn't have loads out of there. I had a few off the top. I had the leather out of there. I had a fish in there, I think still called Jerry's, 39, 40 pounder in there, still called Jerry's.
Wow.
I caught that. And a few others, I didn't get loads. It was kind of like sort of fizzled out after a bit and got busy and I just moved on again.
Yeah, he got his time and he got attention drawn to it, didn't it? And then got mad.
Yeah.
For this carp fishing journey, obviously, you've had loads going in your life. You've had loads of different sort of sections. You seem to have quite, I don't know if it's naturally or just through the course of loving it and consistently putting yourself on venues with good anglers and pushing yourself. You consistently have seemed to sort of scale carp fishing, haven't you? Some of these waters are pretty tough. Like you ain't going on waters which you've conquered, which you can
Sutton
go and
was
catch.
tough. Plodder was tough.
Granite Plodder was definitely tough.
Yeah.
That ability to go there, get a result. Because a lot of people who went to these places and didn't catch with Plodders and didn't catch blind and the
when
likes
when I look back on the ones that I didn't get that sadly passed on, I wished I'd have had them. But so many.
But you've had a result, haven't you? A lot of people have been on these complexes and not had results. Why do you think that is? Do you think
just adapting to the style to fish that lake? There's always a method, isn't there, on every lake? Something that always catches them out. There's always something. A lot of it's just having the time as well, having the dedication, to just keep on and on and on and on.
But with Plodder, you didn't have the time, did you? You were
I never had time. No, that was a stroke of getting on there at the right time, bit of luck, really. But I think you make your own luck, don't you? A lot of the time, you put the effort in. You look at some of the anglers today. I see them on my fishery, and it reminds me of when I was younger. Some of them are just so on it. I've got one guy. He works. He turns up. To be honest, he only really uses a bushwhacker thing, one of them long. You don't really fish casting no more. He uses that. But I'll give him credit. He gets over there at 4 a.m, walks the lake before he fishes, and generally gets a bite, you know. But he's off by 10, gone to work. And he does it all the time, like, you know, and I think fair play. But that's how I would have been. If I could have done it, I would have, if I could have, you know, in my early days, I would go. I used to remember I had a wine bar for 5 years, and I remember.
Did you?
Yeah, I remember fishing. I remember fishing a lake, Dagenham, the Chase. Sorry, that was one of the lakes that come after Hainult as well. Dagenham Chase, good 20s water back then. And I remember fishing there, being so keen. My missus didn't fully understand the fishing, like, you know.
Yeah.
Why do you keep wanting to go fishing? You know what I mean? And Nash, you can't wait for me to go.
Yeah.
But then it was like, I remember fishing over there, but having to go to work the next morning because I had a wine bar. I didn't have to get there till about 10. And I remember I'd have all my gear in the hallway downstairs, ready to go, bait on the side, and I'd go to bed just on the off chance you could say I could go. And I remember it being sort of 11, 12, 1 at night, pretending I can't sleep. And she'd go, "Will you go?" I said, "I can't sleep." I said, "I really can't sleep. I may as well be angling." "Well, why don't you go then?" I'll be gone. Like, you know what I mean? And then driving there thinking, "Oh, I shouldn't really be doing this." Like, you know, I remember crunching through the ice around the Chase at 1 a.m. and setting up under a little wavelock umbrella and casting out and getting a bite at 7 a.m, freezing cold, like, you know, and having to reel in and go to work. I used to do it all the time because I was keen. Yeah. Now, I kind of not bothered about winter fishing no more. Me and Terry done... Like, I got really good, me and Terry, really good mates. We got on really well at Sutton, and we ended up sort of doing a proper winter stint on there. We've done it for 2 winters and really, really worked hard. I mean, trying to tally together 2-3 nights a week when I had the time in the grueling winter. You know, one day we only went home because the lake froze over, otherwise we'd have stayed, you know, and we both really fished hard. I remember once, the very last day of the season, because that's what I was going to say about cluster. I caught it off the eye point in November and it came in like a crisp bag. And I remember as it was in the margins, a big boil up, and I thought it's only a little. And all of a sudden, cluster mid-30 come up on its side, and we're all quick getting it under that. Someone was there with a torch. And then we'd done the whole winter. That was November. So I'd done November, December, January, February, March. Last day of the season, 5 months later, back in the high point, rod rips off, big eruption, proper scrap. Cluster again.
Jeez.
I thought I could have gone home and not come back for 5 months and caught the same fish.
Yeah, exactly.
And eat until caught searcher. So we'd done the whole winter with practically nothing. Really, really, really working hard. And the only thing I learned from it is to never do it again. It was just so hard. And over the years, I've done so many winters on the lakes, and now I just go off to India and chill out. And when I'm in India, I think it's summer, so I'm thinking of fishing, and when I come home, it's still freezing in March.
I love that contract, mate. Perfect. If you can get away for those winter months, mate, and come back.
Amazing.
You've also, you said fishing hard. You've had some, but you. I remember talking to you about this on the phone. You've had probably one of the hardest, most sort of, and it is highs and lows. Big carp fishing, definitely extreme highs, but also extreme lows.
Yeah.
And you had one, mate, at Yatelely, didn't you?
Oh yeah, terrible.
That was. I mean, that is enough. Yeah. I think if that happened to me...
Destroyed me.
Yeah, it would destroy me.
Yeah,
talk to us about that.
Well, we all know how hard the Yatelely was. When I had 2 or 3 times when I went to fish Yatelely, it seemed such a long way from home. I never really went that far down in that neck of the woods, like, you know, and that was a long time. And when I worked and trying to get there every weekend, we just couldn't get the swims, like, get over it on a Friday, weren't getting there in the traffic till late. Me and Jay. And I remember the first time we went over there, we'd done a couple of circuits of the car park, went and looked around the North Lake, because Basil was still in there then. Remember seeing Rob Malin in the chair, Brute's Corner on the main lake, and all named Nigel Sharp was in one of the swims. All the top boys were there, and we were a little bit sheepish, like, you know, walk around, put our heads down. We was a bit scared of the car park, so we went and looked around the North Lake, got a little bit scared of that, so we went and looked around over the road on the Match Lake, and in the end, we settled to fish the North Lake. This is one of the first trips down there. And Jay hooked and lost the snake, a fish that used to live in there called the snake, because it was so weedy in there. He lost it. And we only done a few trips over there. And in the end, we just lost it over there. It was too far, never get the swims and blah, blah, blah. Should have stayed with it because we would have probably caught them all, like, you know. Then I went back again when Daryl Peck was on there, and you had all the good ones still in there, like, you know, all the whole 9 of them, they were all there.
Yeah.
And done a little bit on there. I don't know for what reason, pulled off again. And then I went back again, fully intentional to really go for it. And the first time I went on there, one of the other big uns died. I'm trying to think which one it was.
It's still the North or car park?
This is the car park now. My dream was always to catch Everlight, you know. That was my, you know, I really wanted that in my CV sort of thing. And I think by the time I went on there, Singlewood gone.
Yeah.
And the other one, I'm trying to think of the name of the other one. I always forget this one. I'll think of it in a minute. One of the other big ones had gone, but you still had Dustbin. You still had both the Oranges.
Oranges, yeah.
You had Heather, Pearly Towel. You had the Little Fully, Arthur. You still had some decent ones to go for. So I started off on there. It was like 48 on, 48 off. So that was hard in itself. Bait boats. I went over there with the intention of not using a bait boat, but the swims were so overgrown and you couldn't wade, so you couldn't cast out basically. And I just figured that I'm missing out on chances where everyone else is using them and I'm not. And so I got myself a little micro cat, little one. I don't know what you called it, one of the little ones, and started on there. Trying to think how it went the first year. I can't remember how many seasons I was on there, but it was grueling. I mean, every time, but the atmosphere was just amazing. When you were there, in one of the swims was a little bench, a little stall, and it had Heather Tonight on it written, and it was all little things there. Like, it was just, the atmosphere was buzzing on there. Catching or not catching, the lake, the history, you know, to get out of the trees and watch them swimming about. And
I was going to say, on that lake, you saw them, didn't you? They were there.
Yeah, you saw them. And the funny thing was, I could be sitting in, say, the dugout swim, looking down the lake, and I'm watching the boats come in. It's 48ers on, 48 off, so people are coming and going. And I'm watching matey pull out of, say, Trumptons or wherever and going, and then I'm watching the new bloke turn up and his boat going out to exactly the same spot where matey was, because I see his rods go out the day before. And it kept, you know, you see the boats going backwards and forwards, dropping on all the same spots.
Yeah.
And I remember Tell saying to me once, the spots are the spots. Don't try and find anything else in between, because they don't seem to get caught anywhere else apart from the spots, like, you know.
So you're just waiting your turn, literally?
Basically, like a lottery. I remember Simon Davey. The trawler man?
Yeah.
I met him over there after Horton, and he said to me, he said, when I come on here, he said, I decided to do everything different. He said, if they're on pop-ups, I'm going on bottom baits.
Yeah.
If they're on boilies, I'm going on tigers. If they're doing this, I'm doing that. If they're fishing in the gravel, I'm fishing in the silt, blah, 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 blah. And he rattled off it's a funny guy, he rattled off a load of stuff about it. I went, how did you get on? He went, I blanked. And that's what he said. He said he blanked. And then he just, like, you see the spots out there and you fish the spots and eventually they feed on them spots. Like, you know, we all tried to fish. Oh, you know, they must have come out of different spots. They must have done, but it just didn't, you just didn't seem to get many bites if you didn't fish the spots, if you know what I mean. So then you'd be in that curly long spot and the boats that must have gone out there one after another, 7 days a week, dropping bait off hem and whatever. I remember once pulling in from there, bringing in dead black maggots on my hook, like, you know.
No.
So I think that was made it hard. Do you know what I mean? That made it hard.
That's just an absolute mess your head up, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, but you know, then a week later, I come off of it or something, like, you know, weird. But yeah, I can't remember how long I was on there. I'd caught. They put a load of stockies in there, which are quite nice fish. I mean, I caught a few of them and a little common, I think. And anyway, like, it was a draw for the season. And I remember I nearly missed the draw because of the traffic on the way there. Came out last in the draw, as I generally do. And ended up in a swim called the Chair, which was called Brute's Corner, where Malin used to fish. You've got a little island there, and to the right is a channel going behind the island, and really known to be a good area for Arthur. At the time was probably £50 at that time of year. They hadn't spawned, and I ended up coming out last in the draw, and the Chair was still free. So I thought, well, that'd do. Well, it was better than going home. So I can remember it right well because there was a bough of a tree going out under the canopy, and I remember slipping on it, landing on my kneecap on top of the tree. It bloody hurt. You know when them don't have a laugh or cry? And I remember being in a lot of pain. But I see one of the fish swim under the bough of the tree, and I went, well, they're here. There's hay fish here. And I can remember exactly what I used. You was allowed to use your little bait boats. I got under the canopy, waved a big landing net pole all the way underneath it. No snags, nowhere. I thought, perfect.
That'll do, yeah.
And then from up the tree, I could see a little, like as the trees and the canopy come down, there was a little gap in the canopy. I could see a nice little strip of gravel down here, a bit of silt, surrounded by a bit of weed. I thought that's a good spot. So literally I could run the boat underneath the canopy and just drop. And I was using double black tiger nuts, small ones, and hemp. Like just dropped out a little boat, little micro cat. And so that's where I was fishing. I was using an inline lead with a lead core wrapped around the outside. Remember how we used to do it when we ditched the leads?
Yeah.
So I'm using that. Anyway, that night, 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm away on that rod. Proper big scrap. The fish has gone flying off out into the open water, and I'm giving it side under the canopy. Something I should have done later on, which I didn't do. In front of the swim's just gravel, right? You're not allowed to wade, but when you've got a fish on, you're going to wade.
Yeah, of course you are.
I should have waded down that gravel and played them from the other side of the canopy, but it just didn't enter my head. I was just playing it under the canopy. I felt the lead come off and the fish has come up. I managed to get it in and land it, and it was big orange.
Oh, wow, mate.
£45. So I've got big orange in the net, and I'm absolutely, as you can imagine, I screamed my head off. Apparently it was one of the hard ones to catch. I don't know how true.
Screamed your head off? Are you a screamer normally, mate? Are you?
Yeah, when you catch a big orange, mate.
Well, when you catch a big orange, I was going to say.
Yeah, not normally, not generally. I don't scream.
Say.
Not normally a screamer. We keep quite reserved, like, you know. Anyway, I've got a big orange in the net, and a few of the lads come round, and we done the shots, and absolutely blown away. And because I was awake all night, the next day was a hot day, and I remember the setup was quite a lot of roots, and I had trouble getting the bank sticks in, and the setup was a bit unstable.
Right.
I've got 2 rods out, one still under the canopy, but one out on the bar. Some of the lads opposite were up the trees watching dustbin, and one of the stockies feeding on the bar, on the hemp I'd put out. Oh. So, like, I'm not aware of this. I'm falling asleep dribbling, like, where I've been awake all night, and all of a sudden all hell's broke loose, and both rods are going. So I don't know what rod's going because it's pulling both rods.
Oh, the setup's
Yeah, the setup was all over the place. So I picked the rod up with a line clip, pulled, and I'm into one. They reckon it was dustbin, but I really couldn't say what one it was because I never landed it. We ended up, weeded me up, so we got the boat out, one of the bailiffs, and as we went out to it, as I went past my canopy, Arthur was sitting there, all 48, 50 pound of it, just sitting alongside of the canopy, and I sort of, morning Arthur, blah, 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 as I paddled past, hope to see you later. Went out to the spot, long story short, I lost possibly the dustbin or a stocky. So, not too sad because I've already had the big right, so I'm happy. Anyway, that night, second night, I've got the rods out. I don't know what time it was. Probably similar time to when I had the big O. I'm away on the left-hand rod under the canopy. So I've jumped
Where
up.
Arthur was?
Yeah, down there. So like I'm playing this fish, same as before. Went off out into the open water. I felt it come up in the layers, and I'm playing it side. I've beaten it. I'm winning. Like I've had a good scrap of it, but I'm winning. I should have gone round the outside in hindsight and played it from the other side. Anyway, I've got it more or less to the canopy. I can't move it no further. I'm like, what is happening here? Like, I couldn't believe it. Rod's bending round, no movement. I'm like, no, what is going on here? I just couldn't think what had happened. It obviously come up in the water and caught some of the branches on the top of the canopy, like, you know. Ended up losing it. Absolutely devastated. I mean...
What, did the hook just pull or something?
Must have just got off on the branches, like, you know, they get round them just look for themselves, don't they? So I've lost a very good fish. So, like, absolutely fuming. Just thought, well, there's no need to be quiet now. Head torch on, everything under the canopy, got the rod back out, as you do. Went back to bed, 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, bang, away again. Done exactly the same. Playing another good one. I couldn't believe it, mate. I played another good one into that canopy and lost it. Still didn't think about not dumping the leads or walking around the gravel. Real hard lesson, like, you know. So anyway, that was the end of that session, 48 or whatever we'd done. I'd lost possibly dustbin, had the big O and lost 2 others. And the morning after I lost them 2, Arthur was right away down the other end in the corner sulking. I lost Arthur, I know I did, right? So Arthur was down the other end sulking. And what the other one was, who knows? Could have been Pearly, could have been Eva. I didn't know what the other one was. Could have been Baby O. Anyway, next session down, I'm in waiting man's, and he sort of take a walk down to the gate corner and look in the snags, and I've seen all the leaves coming up, all the debris off the bottom. There's a cut of fish down there. Turned out it was Baby O and one they call Pineapple. I think Pineapple come out of someone's tank and grew on in there. Hardly ever gets caught. It's got a really small mouth. And I still wanted to catch it. It was one of the team, like, you know. Anyway, ended up moving round into the gate swim. Took the boat over to a little gap in the canopy, black tigers and hemp. Sitting there reading a book, I think. One rod, bang, it's away. I've lifted into it. Now I've got it away from the canopy and it's kiting off left, going through all the weed beds, all the bubbles coming up, come off. Flipping devastated. I thought, how many do I have to lose here? Like, you know. Went back round to the canopy to look, and Baby O's still there. So I just lost pineapple. Obviously a little mouth and come off, like, you know. I went, oh, well, still one there, put the rod back out. Put the rod back out to my little gap in the canopy, not expecting nothing. Then I had the take from hell with Baby O. Beat the hell out of me, took me up under the canopy, everything, took the boat out there and lost it, just lost it.
Oh, mate, that is...
So potentially, Big O, Baby O, pineapple...
Arthur and dustbin.
Yeah, dustbin, Arthur, you know, near enough the lot. You know,
mate, to get the bites, but that is savage, mate. How'd you pull yourself together from that, though?
I know, you just try and keep going, don't you? You know, I would have been finished on there, like, you know, in a matter of 2 sessions. Do you know what I mean?
That's incredible, mate. And I don't know, that's a lot of bites in it in a short period of time.
Yeah, and I can't, I'll never get over it, but you just laugh now. You just think, what an idiot I was, like, you know. And
there's a lot of luck. There's luck in there as well.
Why was I dumping the lids? You know why I was dumping the lids? Because most of the time over there, it's horrendous weed, horrendous. Yeah. And you just want to get them up in the layers a bit so you can get them in. And that was my method over there, the way I fished, like just dropping the lids in the weed. Not thinking that I ain't fishing, I'm under the canopy, but I just thought, they'd take me out and weed me up. And I just weren't putting it all
But they could have still done that, to be fair to you, mate. I
got the first one in,
but they could have.
Because I got Baby O in, Big O in, I thought, I'm getting this one in, no probs. Like, and when they were all beat and you know...
And Hook pulls in the weed off the bar, that's just luck, mate.
Yeah. Devastated, mate. And then sadly later on she went, didn't she, ever?
Yeah.
I had a couple of close calls on that as well, catching it. I had it one day I was fishing in a swim called the Dugout. No one was fishing in the bars long because it was weed all the way out. That left a gap to go to the back of Curly Long Spot where the heather comes from a lot.
Yeah.
And while no one was there, I was taking a full boatload of bait out there all the time, but dropping it this side in the silt, just off the back of it. And then one day someone rang me and went, oh, heather's out. I went, oh, great, who had that? Oh, so-and-so had it out of Curly's. I went, well done to him, like, you know. I said, was it crapping out any bait? He went, loads of bait, like Scopex. I was like, do you know what I done? I used the Scopex squid like Darryl did when he caught all his fish out of there.
Yeah.
But Gary Bays made it up for me, the same one, thinking, well, Darryl done good on it. I'm going to take that, you know.
Were you at Nash at the time?
Yeah.
Yeah. How did that come to be, mate? How did Kev spot you? What was the conversation around that? Yeah.
Gary Bays, really good mate. Yeah, really good mate. And I do you know, over the years, never been with many bait companies. I've always been loyal. I think in the early days I was with DT Bait. And my mate used to, not Dave Fault, but the guy that bought it off of him, Chris, he looked after us, and that was my first kind of like proper little sponsorship thing. Good bait. It was when I done the oily chicken that caught me them 240s out of Sutton. Loved it. Really, really good. And then I got an opportunity to go to Dynamite, and Dynamite was a lot more involved with all the shows and everything else, and they had some good anglers there. I think that's when Terry went to Dynamite, and I think Jim Shelley was there. Loads of us. We had a bloody army of consultants. And I was with Dynamite for quite a few years, and ended up going from Dynamite to Nash. Yeah, and I think I was with Nash for 10 years at least.
Wow, yeah.
Something like that. So like I say, I'm not, you know, I've been literally left Nash. I've been with Tracker ever since, 11 odd years now. And the same bait company, Mad Baits, for like same
Mad
time.
Baits, yeah.
Yeah.
Mad, mate.
Yeah.
You've done a lot, mate. One chapter we've got to talk about, and probably the bit that sort of target-wise, quite a synonymous water, I think, when I think of you, is Horton, mate, and that complex.
Yeah.
Because that was, if you like, the Wimbledon of the complexes. Then, at that time.
But the thing was, when it was really prolific, when it had Jack in there and all them old players, I was desperate to get on there, but there was always such a big waiting list. And I can remember I was only ever sort of fished little waters, and I remember I bought SS3000s because they were the big pit reels at the time. And I remember ringing up on the waiting list for it, saying, how far am I on the waiting list? Because I've just bought me big reels and all that, like, for over there, trying to let them squeeze me on. And I think you still had all the old big uns in there. It was phenomenal, wasn't it, back then, when Dave Lane and all them were fishing it. And I still had to wait a while for the list. And then they had the big fish kill, and I got offered my ticket straight away.
Yeah.
You know, but there was still the originals in there. You still had at the time, we had the parrot, shoulders, the boxer. There was loads of them. Fantail, black wrist or black tail. Trying to think of them all. Wood carving and so many.
Shoulders was the one you wanted.
Yeah, it's got that shape in it, and just historic. You know, an old carp that I really wanted to catch. So I went on there to catch shoulders. It's funny because I've done really, really well over there on Horton without realising. I knew I was catching him, obviously, but it wasn't until someone said to me, "You ain't blanked," and I said, "What do you mean?" I went, "No, I ain't, have I?" thought, "Why did you say that?" I just weren't blanking over there, but not really. They had quite a few stockies in there then. Like, remember they stocked it, and that's when they had the fish kill, I think, when it just after that or just before that. Anyway, there was quite a few stockies in there, and so you could catch them like off the top and everything. But I wasn't blanking, and I had a little way of fishing it because the M25 was always busy. I used to get there about midnight, park my barrow up, and then do a lap of the lake. And generally, you'd find the fish by walking around at midnight, 1 a.m, find the fish and drop on them for the night, you know. And then in the morning, either move or stay where you are if you've caught. And I proceeded to keep getting on them and catching.
How were you fishing for them when you found them?
Do you know what? I can't even remember.
No.
Whatever I was using at the time. I did use a lot of bottom baits over there. Do you know what? I can't even remember what I was doing at the time. It seems quite a long while ago now, but
it's interesting you reference that sort of mobile type approach. Ollie, classic example, still at Horton now, loves it, but
loves it over there, doesn't he?
He's very similar in terms of like he will often turn up quite late, and very reactively fish it.
There's always a way to catch them. You know, there was some really still good like fish in there to catch, like out of the old originals, and I managed to catch my first fish out of there was fantail, which I think was the oldest one in there, some 50 odd years old or something. So my first bite was fantail, and then I think that same session I moved and caught a couple more. I lost. It was funny. I don't know if it's that same session, but I lost the parrot at the net, which was a bit of a nightmare. Basically, I was sitting in the swim called the Salt Circle, and I was seeing them show in Phil's Corner right up in Church Bay. And I remember packing all my gear down, raining, pouring the rain, but I remember packing it down and then covering the barrow up with a ground sheet. Went up into the lodge to get something from there. Bumped into trawler man Dave as he was in between fishing Horton. The car party used to come over there on his in between the 48. Right. 48 on. Sometimes he'd just sleep in the blinking clubhouse or something. And he went, "What are you doing in the rain, moving? What you seeing? What you seeing?" And I went, "If you keep looking down there," he went, "Oh," he said, "that's got me juices flowing." He said, "I'm going up there, mate." Anyway, I went up there, and Phil's Corner swim was quite high up. It was like a slope going down. I remember it pouring the rain, and I was fishing a rod down a tree line, and at 7 a.m, it's gone. Literally like a bleating penguin sliding down on my stomach, and I'm trying to stop it going in the trees. Managed to get it away. Then it powered off to the other side of the tree line, got it all the way back, and I see what looked like a real dark one. I went, "God, that's got to be an original, really dark, you know." And then as it's gone up and boiled on the surface, I realised it's parrot. I've seen all its head and its mouth. I don't know how big, 40-odd pound. Didn't care. I just wanted it in the net, like, you know. Yeah. Slowly had it coming back towards the net, and I reckon if I'd have bullied it a little bit, I would have got it in the net. But it wanted to go, and I went, "Oh, I've got plenty of time. So I let it go, and it powered off sort of on the top over another 20, 30 yards away, turned it, got it coming back again, and it was just nigh on touching the net, like the cord along the front, and it didn't come off. I got my rod and threw it right up into the trees. I was devastated and never did catch up with it again after that one. But yeah, that was like one of my first or second sessions over there. I think I had 3 and lost a parrot. And then from then onwards, just kept catching. And I had one of the original commons. I can't think of its name off the top of my head. I caught. I had a really good session one start and caught what do they call it? Something grey, the big grey. Right. And I never knew at the time how old this fish was. Just a stunner. I got it in my arms, with Nash. Still got me. I can remember the picture with my Nash hat on. Got a really good photo of as it goes. And Del Smith, God bless him, he came along and went to me. Jerry said, took me years to catch that one. That's a big grey. And I was like, as you can imagine, it went from I really like this fish to absolutely buzzing. Like, you know, it's a real old original. And caught wood carving. Caught loads of them, loads. And then the ultimate prize really was shoulders. It was a funny session. I was due for a blank as it goes. I remember fishing opposite the plateau in a swim called the motorbike swim. I think it was a motorbike. Top to bottom weed. You couldn't really find any spots. And I remember being around there fishing choddies. And I remember thinking, if I find a spot, I'll put this rod on it. And if I don't find any other spots, I'm only going to fish one rod. And I remember having one rod lean up against the trees all night. Just didn't find anywhere to put it. And anyway, the lads opposite in plateau and one up, never caught nothing. And I walked round and I was going to go. And they turned around and said, we've not had nothing. And I went, they've not had nothing. I've not had nothing down here. They've got to be up the other end. So I walked up the other end, stopped off near the gate or wherever it was, looking across towards Spring Gates or Heart Towels. And I see one couple. No, they was going in the opening to the Dog Bay and in front of them swims over there. So I run down there, got my gear, run all the way round. I think it was Heart Towels, can't remember. I think Spring Gates in Heart Towels. So I've gone into Heart Towels and they're bubbling, like, you know. You can imagine I got tackle all over the track. Just wanting to get a rod together quickly, a little slow sinking pop up. Flicked that out there and it was all bubbling, coming up. There's proper in the silt. And I ended up having one of the... not Hercules, it might have been Hercules. I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, I had one of the other big ones at mid to upper 30, which was good. And then I thought, I'm going to stay the night. And I jumped into the one on the corner, which I think was Spring Gates. And you sort of look, if you look right, you've got the opening to Dog Bay. I think I'm right. It's either that or Heart Towels. And they kept jumping on the entrance to the bay. Anyway, in front of me was a lot of weed. I remember sort of adding a lead around. Every time I reeled in, there was a lot of Canadian in front of me. In the morning, I got woke up by a couple of bleeps and the red light on my alarm. You know, when you're half asleep and half awake, and you think, was that a liner? I sort of woke myself up and looked, and the light was still on. I went, that was a liner. So I got up. It was about 4 a.m. I stayed awake first light and watching, and there was fish just topping all the time on the entrance to Dog Bay. I kept reeling them in and chucking to them, like, you know, to show him fish. And in the end, there was so many showing. I reeled it in again. And I went, right, the next ones that showed, that's it. 2 showed. I cast in between them. I said, I'm going back to bed. And I went back to my umbrella and I turned away from the lake, looking at the back of the umbrella just to try and ignore it. And I could, wallop. I thought, these fish, like, you know. In the end, I've had a real finicky take, like, you know. I even think I had hangers in. Like,
Twitchy
like,
thing.
Yeah, pulled up to the top. And, oh, God, got out for probably a little tinge or something. Playing it, it's coming in so easy, like, you know, just sort of coming in like nothing. And then right at the last knock-ins, it had a little bit of a go in the margins, little vortex come up. And I thought maybe it's a little grass carp or something like that. And then it weeded me up. And I thought, well, I should be able to get it out of that. Ain't that big. And I remember winding down on the rod tip and shoulders just come floating up to the top. Whoa, like shoulders, like, absolutely blown away with that. And I think I went back one more time after that and caught wood carving. But like, yeah, do you know what? I must have blanked over there, but I don't remember blanking over there.
That's some going, mate.
Yeah, well pleased. Well pleased, mate. To catch that shoulders was a dream, like, you know.
You've had some chapters there, boy. Like, there's a vast, like, eclectic, different ends of the spectrum with all of this.
Yeah.
For you, when you look back, and I know it's hard to do, but is there somewhere, a place, a fish even, that really sort of you would say was your sort of your pinnacle, whether that be in terms of the angling ability that it took to catch it, whether that be in terms of the type of fishing? Because there's big carp, there's a lot of significant historic venues fished at different times.
Yeah.
Is there one place which you think, like, do you know what I mean, was like the pinnacle for you?
Well, back in the day, anything out of Sutton was a bleeding major result. Every sort of lake I go to, there's always one that I want to catch, and it's always the most recent ones that you're going for that are always freshest in your mind. But catching the halfling out of Vinatro was an achievement in my mind.
Yeah.
Not particularly the best looking carp in the world, but it was a brute of a carp, you know, close to £60. And
Talk to me about Vinatro, because obviously I don't think we spoke about Vinatro on this podcast before in terms of fillet. No, we haven't.
Right.
How big in acreage?
Do you know what? I don't know, 15 acres, something like that.
It's a mid-sized lake, isn't it?
Yeah, it might be a bit bigger, 20 acres, 15 acres. I might be wrong, but in my mind, it seemed about that big. Very hard lake, very shallow, very shallow. A lot of tench, a lot of eels, some cracking carp in there, not just the half-lin. And very, very tough, very tough. I mean, a lot of the boys had a go on there. It had quite a bit of a name, didn't it? A bit of a following a few years back.
Yeah.
I think Gaz Farron went over there, Terry went over there, and a lot of good anglers have had a go, and a lot of them have fouled, and managed to catch most of them, really.
Stock-wise, in that acreage, what we got?
Do you know what? I don't know the exact numbers. All I knew was the A-team sort of thing, but there was about 25 that you wanted to catch.
Yeah.
In my mind, a couple of bigger commons, the half-lin. There was one called really nice mirror, my first one out of there, that had a single scale on its side. There was single scale as well, but this one, I can't remember what they called it. Black spot. Yeah, black spot. What else was in there? There was some nice carp in there. I had one in there called the 8 and 10. That was a cracker, that was.
The 8 and 10.
Did you ever see that?
No.
Got a really nice shot of that. The 8 and 10. I had that at 40. I had black spot twice at 39 scrape of 40. Arnie, the big common in there.
What was the key to catching these then? Because this is on a tough venue.
That was that was a tough water. I mean, I'll tell you what used to do you in there was a tench and eels, because you used to get spots colouring up, and it ain't a carp, it's a tench. So many tench in there, so you did catch a lot of tench. I got the chance to go out on a boat once. I think we lost some spods or something, and I got permission to go out on a boat. I baited up my spots, and they were clad in that. As I went over, it was just riddled with tench, like hundreds of them, like all feeding away. Good tench water. But the eels, I mean, funny story. When I caught black spot for the first time, I was fishing in this swim, and it was a tight cast from down the bank, clipping the tree line to a weed bed that was out there. And I'd baited it really accurately on the edge of this weed bed, and I'd had like a mid-30 common, one of the bigger commons in there, and give it a nice bit of bait. And I baited it again. And then the next morning, this cat turned up, like a black cat, a little bit of white on it. And he'd jump on the roof of my bivvy, like put his claws through it. And blimey, he's going to rip my bivvy to pieces. And then this particular day, it's like 1 PM, it's gone down by my rods. I'm trying to think, did it do it twice? I don't know if it done it with a common, but it definitely done it with black spot. It walked into it did do it with a common. It came down, I'm sure it went to my rods, right, about 1 PM, sat near my bobbins, and it just whacked the top, and I was away. I don't know if it done it with the common as well. Definitely done it with black spot. I think it did do it.
Like it knew.
Yeah, it's like it walked down into my swim. It must have done it twice for me to call it. I started calling the cat lucky. It came into my swim, and 2 days on the trot, and I caught 2 fish. So
I would have super glued that cat to my rod pod.
So I baited the granny out of it again and done the third night, and I was getting loads of savage liners in the night, and I thought, this is it. They're on me. I'm going to have another carp. And I remember one of my mates said, you got to stay to at least 2 or 3 in the afternoon. If I'm going home on the day I'm going home, I like to leave about 9 after the traffic. It's like a 2.5 hour drive from Vinatro to get home. Long, long way. I'm normally at the gate by 9, half 9 and getting away. But I had to stay because 2 days on the trot, the cat walked in my swim and I had 2 fish. So I thought, I'm going to stay. Hopefully the cat will turn up. Anyway, I got all them liners all night long. Cat never turned up. And you know what? The eels are on my spot all night. And I don't know if you've ever fished where there's eels, but they literally tumbling around, twisting around on your rigs and your lead core. And when you reel it in, it's like the size of a ball like that, of just really tight ball of all your lead core. They just wreck it. So basically, it didn't get a bite, probably because the eels were on me, and they'd ate everything, basically. But I stayed to about 3 PM and just reeled in a ball of lead core, and the cat never turned up that day. Do you know what I mean? Funny, isn't it?
What was the key to sort of avoid? Did you just fish through the tench, or did you bait with anything specific to try and sort of minimise the nuisance?
Yeah, tigers were good over there. Done well on tigers. And the way I caught the big one was there was a lot of weed beds in there, like a lot of fish you had just weeded you up, like, you know. I had, I can't caught Arnie, you know, the big common in there.
Yeah.
Got some cracking photos of that. I think that was 45. So that was a real good one that I wanted. Lovely, lovely common. Anyway, I caught that. And what was happening was the weed beds were sort of uprooting after a while and drifting away, leaving nice little clear spots, silty clear spots. And I remember fishing, or couldn't get in where I wanted to go, and I went round the other bank. One of the load of weed beds, and one of them had lifted recently and just moved away and left a little yellow glowing spot. And I remember fishing that, and the next morning had the half lin. I think it was 54. God, 354. And you can imagine, like, absolutely blown away with that one. Some real nice. We had some. Me and my mate Jim, between us, we fished together. We practically caught them all out of there, really. So that was good over there, and I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed the fishing. The lads were good. The fish were lovely. They weren't busy in the week. It was practically me and Jim most of the time. And I think I don't know how many fish I had out of there. 18, 20 fish, something like that.
A lot of those good ones, didn't you, mate?
Yeah, out there.
Yeah, that's good going.
The lake next door's doing good again. One in there called Cluster, is it? I think that's done 50. Runkton, where Terry fished years ago for black spot. Yeah. I suppose that's how Terry got on to Vinatro, through fishing Runkton.
It's all connected, isn't it, mate? That corridor of big carp circuit information, mate. They tend to do all right.
Yeah, I mean, after that, I kind of needed other targets, you know, and ended up going from there to a little bit on Burfield, a little bit on... I ended up going on settling down for trying to have a go for the black.
An Engie, wouldn't you?
Yeah, on Inglesfield, which is quite up to date. Really, really, really like Inglesfield. It was one of them love-hate lakes, like, you know, it was a big lake. I think it's 50 acres, but them 50-acre lakes can get busy. You don't need many of the better swims gone, and you kind of knew after I was on there a few years, you kind of knew where you thought they were going to come from, and if you couldn't get in them swims, you kind of felt like you was, you know, in the wind, you know what I mean?
It's busy as well. I'd imagine you've seen the circuit. Yeah. Like those Reading waters, they've had a fair bit of publicity. We were talking about, I'd guess on a podcast, talk about the likes of Stoney's, Lynch Hill, all that type of, and how the scene's got bigger, but also because of social media, because of the relevance of information, how quick information's on, there isn't like places where you get the fortune to be able to maybe not compete so heavily against other anglers. It's congested, isn't it?
Yeah.
How have you found that? Not easy?
That's the hard bit, isn't it, really, competing against other anglers. Yeah. So many keen anglers out there now. You know, a lot of youngsters that are really fit and healthy and got a bit of time on their hands, and they're out doing it, you know, like we were, like I was. And I admire them, you know. My mate I fish with, Jim, he's getting on a bit now, and he's still keener than me. He's been fishing. He fished in the days with Hutchie on Cassine and you know, and he would do 3 or 4 days on the trot on the lake we're on there. He would be there before me, and he'd be there after me. Like, he's just like as keen as mustard.
That's wicked, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
To be fair to you as well, outside of just the actual fishing, because you've caught them, you've had a book, mate. You've wrote a book. You've done the old underwater filming DVDs that you publish yourself. You've had a good old
never
media
ever thought I'd write a
well.
book, just been in the right place at the right time. I was assistant editor once for what's your name, Carp and Course Angler. Me and Terry Owen were assistant editors on that, and also for Carp Addict. I was assistant editor to John Bannister on that for a few years. Obviously Empress do the books.
Yes.
And they kept saying, the boss kept saying, when are you going to do a book? When are you going to do a book? When are you going to do a book? And I was like, I don't really want to do a book. Like, and he went, well, you've got a good story, you know, all that your bits that you've done, your filming and everything else, more of like a biography type thing. Why don't you do one? And I sort of brushed it off. And I think I was over St Ives at the time, fishing over there. And he rang me and said, how are you getting on with your book? I thought, Christ, I ain't even started it. And I was on the bank, like, he wanted it in by February or something, and it was like Christmas. No. So I was like, oh my God, I better get going. So I used to take my iPad with me and just done it all from my mind, like all from my memory, just on my iPad.
You just jotted it down while you were on a bank?
Yeah, the whole lot. Yeah.
That's mental, mate, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, I had to be proofread and you know, proofread.
Yeah, but getting it down's the hard bit, isn't it?
Yeah, I used to do 20,000 word chapter while I was on the bank. No probs. Just sit there at night, tapping away.
I can't work when I'm on the bank.
Yeah, I find it quite easy because you're relaxed, don't you? And if you're sitting on the banks like now, we're talking about. There's so many things I've forgotten in this interview.
You've done loads, mate.
There's so many things that I haven't spoke about. So many lakes I haven't spoken about, and I've fished a lot more waters tons more than we've mentioned, and I can't remember it all. But I'll probably drive home. I never said about this, never said about that. Cotton Farm and Cleveley Mere, Croxley, St Ives, and there's so many other waters that I can talk about. But you forget about half of them, and actually you go home and think, Christ. And it was like being in the right place at the right time. They said, do a book, so I did one. And something that I'm proud of.
Mate, definitely. Yeah.
It's not the same books now, are they? There's so many of them and things. I know it's still nice to have a book, still nice to read a magazine, like a fishing magazine, occasionally. But like everything's social media now and everything's there, isn't it? Everything you want to know about, it's all there. Everything you want to read about is all there.
It's immediate, isn't it?
Social
exactly.
media. It's good. We never had that back in our day. Like, it was lucky to get told what was in someone's bait. You never knew nothing. Early days,
Secret squirrel,
It was good though then, because if you had a little edge, you had an edge. There ain't really no edges now. You've got to make your own edges through your ability.
It's even harder if you have got an edge to keep it stummed. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's difficult. The DVD, mate, let's reference that, because underwater, I think everywhere, there's loads of people doing them. There's loads of people putting underwater footage out. It is the thing, isn't it? You see the amount of views that it gets on YouTube, the amount of interest, and we all love watching it. But you put together a DVD with loads of underwater bits on it.
There was a good bit of it over on Carthagena Lake. Me and my mate Neil, we just had a plan one day to make a DVD. We went, come on, let's do it. So we found it as a really good, interesting little project. Neil's quite good at all the logistics and planning and prep and all that, and he was going to sort of do logistics. I mean, we ended up, he's an electrician, so we'd run an armoured cable from where the electric is in my clubhouse all the way to the very end of the lake, and sourced an underwater camera. Back then, they weren't that good. They had a load of LEDs on it, so we had to tape all them up, but we put it in the corner by this butch. It was a little clear spot, and we started feeding it. Put a 2-man bivvy up with a monitor in there and a couple of low chairs with our coffee and that, cookers. And this is just what we started doing. We started feeding the spot and watched the spot build up and progress, like with the various fish coming in. And it was a fishing situation. The lake was open, and it was a good way of watching the way some of the carp reacted to bait and that. It's quite good. And you had the tench come in first and stir it all up. Then the carp nudged the tench out of the way. We used to spend days in there. It was like being at the cinema, And I was going to try and catch, it's not in there no more, one called the parrot linear. Had a bit of a funny mouth, and apparently many, many years ago at £15, someone put it in Carthagena out the river that runs alongside the lake. And it was a beautiful slate grey zip linear, cracking carp. And it did have a torn mouth. Maybe it was tethered years ago, but everyone wanted to catch it. And the parrot linear is quite a greedy fish, used to be on the spot every day feeding. And I just thought, we'll try and catch that for the camera, So you had him feeding there, a whole host, probably tango and loads of them, right in front of the camera, got loads of footage of it on the video. And the linear was in there every day, and there was most of the A team was getting in there. And there was another fish called Sandy, still Sandy still swims, still in the lake, probably about 39-40 pound at the minute. Sandy never comes out. It's one of these fish that hardly ever comes out. And during the video, I'm sort of saying this is one fish that seems to get away with it. And I was asking myself, why does it get away with it? And it was feeding like a barbel, really close to the ground, just all you could see was its mouth extending and going along, obviously brushing food aside, but taking what was in front of it. Then when you watch the parrot feed, I think it was feeding in such a scared attitude. It was coming down, picking a bait up and going up towards the surface, and then come back down, pick another couple of baits up and swims to the surface. I think it was just waiting for danger. And that's obviously when it's swimming up with a 3-ounce lead hanging off of it. That's why it was getting caught.
Job done.
Yeah, he was just swimming down, picking up various baits and going up, whereas Sandy was feeding along tight to the lake bed and generally getting away with it. It's going to go quite a few years without getting caught, that one. So it's quite a good discussion about it all. And then I decided to do a night on there, and Neil was due over at 5 a.m. And at first light, I'm away with a bite. Obviously no filming of that because there was no cameraman there at the time. and playing it, think I've got the lin on here. I know I've got the lin here. It's in there every morning, 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock. It's here. It's on the spot. And we landed it. It was a common called snubnose at just under 35. Equally, just as pleased with that. But where was the linear? The reason I didn't catch it, someone called it up the other end of the lake that morning. So before she come down to me to feed, someone called it up the other end. Yeah, so we done all of that underwater stuff and right up until they spawned, and that kind of give us the move. We had a different objective then, was to go to up to Peterborough and try and catch a leanie. And they got a really nice pool there. And I don't know if you know Dave Menny's place, Green Acres.
Yes.
Well, he used to let me fish his lake and the Leanie Lake, because he used to be one of the guys that used to run the Leanie Lake, So Dave let me on. Remember Danny Fairbrass had a really nice big common out of there.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Well, I'd fished on there previously to doing the film, because Dave let me fish on there a few times, and I ended up catching an unknown 42 common out of there, which I thought was the one Danny had, because I didn't know. Dave come round and went, no, that's a different fish, Jerry. I don't know that one. Really lovely carp. I was still with Nash then. Anyway, so then we've gone back, and we was going to fish on the Leanie Lake, or I did fish on there, and I caught a Leanie off the top, which was incredible, about 24 pound it was, in a real little... The Leanie Lake's just got little peninsulas all over the place, beautiful little lake, creating little pools everywhere, but top to bottom weed, top to bottom. And I remember I hooked this fish off the top, which was all great, got it all on camera and everything, but then it weeded me up so bad, I could not get it in.
Yeah.
I couldn't get it in. And when you get in one of them bulk machines and getting it up to the surface, and it's on, but I just can't get the fish up. It's like, I don't know, I just couldn't move it. And we had to cut the camera a couple of times, and my mate Neil had to go, and a big branch got in the way, and Neil's had to go in on a boat, get the branch out, because it was for a little film we was making, Cut a long story short, I managed to catch it, and then not too long after that, there was a spot that I had been baiting, and every time I went round there was a carp with a towel out of the water feeding, I've baited it and then pulled off of there, and we started doing a little bit on Dave Menny's other lake, Green Acres.
Green Acres, yeah.
And when I caught the bigger common previously, like back in April, as the lake come down, there were some big weed beds that made like a little funnel shape down the lake. It was an obvious patrol route for the fish. And I remember using at the time amber, like the amber attract, the white ones.
Yeah.
And I was putting them out with a frying stick all along the channel, and then fishing little choddies out there. And that's how I caught the 40
the
common.
unknown.
The one that we never knew. So anyway, I went back in that swim on the down wall and done the same thing, baited it all up, and it started to rain. I remember we moved the camera inside the bivvy door, looking at the rods, and while we're chatting away, the camera's rolling, one showed. I'm sat outside now on my low chair, and one showed over the spot, and you can hear it on the DVD. Go, did you see that one? One just showed, and someone's going, yeah, that was a good one. It's just gone, and I had the 40 that Danny had, in his... When
What
Danny
a
Fairbrass
brace
went on.
that is, mate, those two.
Yeah, that was brilliant. So I had that, which made, amongst a few others, which made really good filming. And then I went back. They started to spawn on there, I think. So we then went back to the Leanie Lake later, and that one was still there with his tail out of the water, and managed to catch that 30 cent common, jet black it was. So I caught that. And then also, for a little bit of something different, Kev invited me over onto the Church Lake one day, because I think Tim Paisley was over there and just needed a hand if he caught anything, basically, because he caught a fish called the cuckoo, and I'd done the focus for him.
Yes.
Real nice, fully scaled.
Church Lake fish, yeah.
So he said, I don't know if I had 24 hours or 48, I can't remember, but I said to Kev, can I bring my cameraman for my DVD? He went, of course you can. And I ended up catching 340s. And Kev was there while I was playing one once, and yeah, got some really good stuff on the DVD for that. And, we've done it quite a long while ago now, and I looked back on it, and I watched it a little while ago, and I thought, that ain't a bad DVD, that. It's quite a good little film.
That sounds mega, mate. You got some big fish in that.
Yeah, well, 440s.
And the underwater
on camera.
Birds. Jeez.
All of them, all on camera, and 30s. And yeah, for back then, talking, I don't know how long ago we done it, over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Come out really well. I'll give you a copy. You've got to watch it.
Yeah, well, 100% will.
And you think how long ago we done it, as to, in my opinion, how good it turned out. And we just done it ourselves. You know,
That's wicked. What's the future hold, mate? Obviously, tracker filming. You talked about Gaz coming down and doing bits with you.
Yeah, Gaz has been coming over and he's got a bivvy on the lake next door to where I am, and he's been coming over doing some bits and pieces. He's a fantastic cameraman.
He's quality, Gaz. He's absolutely.
He does. His photography is unbelievable. And his filming, I mean, he's just self-taught. I think he's just so good, so dedicated.
He's also funny, isn't he, mate?
Yeah, he's a good lad, Gaz.
He's
really,
nice
I've been working with him for a long time now. He was down Vinatro. He's been everywhere I've been, like, you know, and yeah, he seems to come along. It's the thing about where I'm fishing now. There's not much action. There's not many fish to catch in the lake anyway. But when you catch one, they're really special. And when I caught that scaly one recently, Gaz was there, which made it even better. I mean, we got the perfect returner just behind where I am. There's a little bay, and it's really shallow. And we walked in there, and the sun was nice. We had all the reeds, nice reflection of the fish.
Yeah, wicked.
And I said, I'm going to lift it up. Like he literally got 2 shots, and the fish was going. It wanted to go, and I couldn't stop it. Like, you know, so I had to lower it and let it go. Like, you know, and I thought, I bet he ain't got him. But he managed to get the most amazing photo, and everyone's commenting on it how good the shot is, and one of the best shots I've seen. Like, you know, real dark, beautiful wood carving. Dorsal was going up. Probably only been caught a couple of times. And
mega placement. I look forward to seeing the subsequent captures, because you'll have a few, mate. I know you.
Oh
will.
yeah, I mean, I've got like basically where we've been fishing. We haven't had the Wesleys. I'm just hoping and praying that when the Wesleys come, hopefully next week, they will be getting up our end and we get a taste of some of the action. I mean, when they've come down there, me and Jim's caught. We've had a fish each, but we've done 10 weeks for that. 10
You'll
weeks.
have them, mate.
10
the
weeks.
Special ones.
You know, I don't mind sitting over there blanking. The thing is, if I take my base camp down there and pack down, then I'm opening up the swim. At the end of the day, everyone's leaving me alone. It's my area, my swim, to fish until I decide to move. But once you move, it's anyone's swim. And I think I've got to at least sit it out and wait for these Wesleys. Like,
yeah, exactly.
You just haven't had, it's not an excuse. There ain't been no Wesleys. I've not hardly had any at all. And it's been all northeasterlies the whole time, just blowing up the other end. And I came home a day early on this session recently because my cooker blew up and I had no food. I do fast a lot when I'm training and dieting. I'm always dieting and doing some sort of fast, and I'm really into fasting, intermittent fasting, and I've done like I said earlier, I've done a 5-day fast before. That was a challenge.
That's a stint. That is,
yeah, mate. Anyway, on my last session, I had a bit of a nightmare. Really, I'm fishing this plateau, managed to get a couple of, we got a little trickle of a Wesley that morning. I turned up, Jim got down on the Sunday, I turned down on the Monday. I offloaded my gear in my swim, went down the bay, skirted the outskirts of the bay not to upset Jim's rods, and sat with him for a cuppa. And he said, I can't believe it, we've had a little bit of a Wesley. I went, oh, amazing. Anyway, as I went back round to my swim, I see 2 fish in the bay, 2 mirrors. So I thought, a couple of fish up here, like, you know. So I went all the way out, went to check my spots out, and as I got towards the plateau, there's 2 fish on the plateau, which is where I caught the fully from. And I thought, oh, there's a couple of fish here. As soon as you get a slight bit of wind, they're there. Anyway, it was a struggle to get a rod out without spooking the fish, but I managed to get a rod on the position where I wanted it. And then that night, just before dark, swan picked up. It's only shallow, took my bait off and everything, so I had to reel in again. Managed to get a rod out there just before dark, because then my vision's gone. I can't really see too much, but managed to get a rod out I was half happy with. Next morning, dead on bite time, I was getting something going on with my rod, something kept picking up, and I was getting line, hitting the bobbin was hitting the butt and then dropping back down. It kept happening. In the end, I went to pick it up and I was cut off about 3 foot from the rod tip. So I've got line all the way out to my spot with a rig on it. I was furious. Right at bite time, I thought, you're having a laugh. I managed to get my landing net pole and pick up the end of the line, and I just done a leader knot and joint it. It wasn't on, it was just off the rod tip still, but I thought if I get a bite, it's very weedy. Chances are they will weed themselves and I'll get a chance to wind that knot onto the spool. And so I ended up doing that. And then that evening I reeled it in and swapped it for one of the other rods. And then I put it out, got it all out perfect. And I'd been really fasting. I was really hungry. And the sun was going down and it burns your retinas out. And I wanted to eat about 6, but I had to wait till about 8:30 till it cooled down. I didn't want to cook in the sun. I had a nice steak and all that. I got it all out ready to cook. And my cooker wouldn't work. It's like, you know, where the gas tube fits the cooker itself, it was leaking gas here and catching the light all the time.
Oh, my God.
I kept blowing it out, thinking, come on, it wouldn't have it. So I had to suffer for a couple of olives and a few pistachio nuts that night. So the next morning I went, right, I'm going home. I've been cut off. Swan's done me and my cooker's blown up.
Something's telling me.
Yeah, well then I've gone home and Jim's had to go up the shops, his little trip to Asda's because he ran out of supplies. And on his way back, he diverted round the plateau because there was a weed bed in his way or something. And he went, I don't like to be a bearer of bad news here, but there's 2 or 3 real big ones sitting right just off the edge of the plateau. I was like, that's all right. Doesn't matter. They're there, aren't they? So next week,
Jim.
yeah, I've got to go Tuesday. I normally go Monday, but Tuesday I've got to go for a scan on my shoulder. I've got a bit of a rotator cuff injury. 20 to 4 in the afternoon on Tuesday. So I might take my gear to the scan and then just drive down there in the evening, do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
This time next week, completed it, mate.
This time next week, mate, you never know.
You never know.
You
Mate,
never know.
I thank you so much for coming in,
It's
and
all
thank
right,
you
mate.
so much for sharing all that, mate. It's been, I know we scratched the surface in terms of the amount of stuff you've done, but I found it fascinating, very diverse, mate, and hugely entertaining.
You're welcome,
so cheers.
mate. Anytime.
Before you go,
Yeah.
you've got some quick fire questions to answer,
No problem, mate.
all right?
Yeah.
You're not prepped for these,
No.
so you can take your time, but
Okay.
I reckon you'll be all right. Movie character you wish you played. Who would you like to have played?
I'd like
mate?
to have played. No, movie character. Favourite films, I love Papillon, films like that.
Yeah?
That would have been a good one to play. Papillon. I'm just thinking of films that I really like, but character-wise, I don't know. Let's think of a good one. I don't know. Terminator.
Yeah, I was going to say Terminator Arnold Schwarzenegger, mate.
Yeah, it'd be good.
You got the body, mate. You just need the old.
I used to have the body.
Get-up,
I'll
mate.
get it back.
Well, mate, there's a few shots we'll overlay here. He showed us an absolute corker in the office, mate. Henry was giving it
That
the
was
big
only
un.
the other week, though, that one.
Oh, no, I can tell. Henry was giving it the big un, saying he's got bigger biceps than you, mate.
Probably
and then
has,
just
younger than me.
He cowered back into his seat when
He's
he
only
saw
a youngster. He probably has.
that. Don't be too nice to him. 3 celebs that you'd take fishing, mate. Who would they be and why? They can be past and present.
What, movie celebs? Or
Could be any celebs, mate. I'll let you branch out there.
3 celebs, eh? Who would I like to take fishing? What, celebs as in sport or just in...
They can be any celebs, mate. From any, could be music, could be...
I really like my boxing. I'd like to meet Mike Tyson. Like him to come fishing with me. He'd probably get bored. He smokes a lot, doesn't he? And all that. He'd probably enjoy himself.
He's like smokes and has the old mushrooms and stuff when he does his
he's
podcast.
well into all
isn't he?
that.
Yeah.
I like Mike Tyson. In my opinion, one fantastic boxer. Like in his prime, he was unbeatable. Yeah,
He's
Mike
scary.
Tyson. Who else behind me? Celebs. I'll probably drive home from here and go, why did you say that? You could have said this, you could have said that. I don't know. Celebs.
You like a bit of Joe Rogan, didn't you?
I like Joe Rogan. I listen to Joe Rogan. I could probably talk to him for hours about, because I'm really into my fasting, really into my health, my diets, training. Yeah, good choice, Joe Rogan. Anyone in the fitness industry, really. Don't know, someone funny probably, just to cheer me up.
Funny.
Yeah. I can't think of who else,
Put
mate.
you on the spot, mate.
That's all right.
Drum and bass or country and western?
Drum and bass all day long. Love
Look
it.
at that. No
Love it.
hesitation.
What was the one I like? What's it called? I can't think of the blink.
I'm lost on drum and bass, mate, so I can't help you here.
I know it as well. Can't think of what it was called. One I really like. Go on. Sorry.
I'll let you off, mate. Venue you wish you fished and carp you wish you caught.
Oh, loads of them, mate.
Go on. You got to name one.
Well, carp I wished I'd have caught was Heather,
Yeah.
obviously.
Venue
Ones
you
I
you
wished
fished.
I'd fished was staying on at Yatelely, but I did fish it, but later. Venues, because they go, don't they, the carp over the years, and thinking back, if you'd have, Yateley's my biggest regret in carp angling, just not going on there in the days when I should have gone on there with my mate Jay. We would have probably caught all the ones that we wanted to catch later.
Fair dues. What's your idea of carp fishing hell?
Carp fishing hell? Not really. Just busy waters, isn't it? When they're too busy.
Fair.
Too busy, can't get anything going, and so busy that it becomes unenjoyable, where it's just not peaceful enough. Do you know what I mean? I just like being where I am now. It's paradise, whether you're catching or not, and it's just like going back in time, fishing how you did when you was a youngster. There was never anyone on the lakes, and that's how it is. Really, you kind of forget that. You just think, I'm back in time.
Yeah, love it. Best piece of advice you've been given?
I've been given.
Yeah.
Well, just for fishing itself.
Could be for fishing, could be for life. You choose, mate.
Best piece of advice. Oh man,
put you right on the spot, mate. Told
There's
you.
so many good things you could say, isn't there? I don't know. Just enjoy it, mate. It's only fishing, innit? If it's about fishing in general, don't take it too serious. You know, enjoy it. Like any sport, any hobby, it's a hobby. It's a sport. It's a whatever you want to call it. It's your passion. If it's your passion and you're doing it, enjoy it. Don't get wound up about it if you ain't catching, and try and learn and catch. You know, it's just a lovely, lovely pastime, and enjoy it. Make the most of it. You know.
Final question, mate. A night out on the bank or a night in with the missus?
Night in with the missus, of course. She'd
No
kill me if I said
hesitation
that.
either. What a legend.
She'd kill me.
Jerry Hammond.
I've been married 30-something years.
30 years? Have you done 30 years?
Yeah. And she's put up with this all this time, mate. So
Well, I don't know, mate.
she loves me going fishing because she likes Emmerdale on Coronation Street.
Does she? You could have been in them. There's always hope, mate. There's always hope.
Always time for that.
Thank you for coming in. Thank you guys for watching and listening. I'll be back soon with another podcast. Until then, Jerry Hammond, thank you so much.
Tight
mate.
lines, everyone. Enjoy June the 16th.